right?
At the very end, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that got me.
I got you. The one that I was behind you. That was fantastic. That was great.
Oh, dang it. Back over here. New tab. I'm going to grab this from here.
The Yeti one had potential, but I also feel like it was too comedic. Like some stuff was just too goofy, so I was just like, okay.
Okay. Pop out chat. No, not over there.
And the Dueling Dragons was very aesthetic.
It was
I wouldn't say it was scary.
It was scary,
just aesthetic.
But it was, the costume design was fantastic. I also felt that high fantasy vibe was right there. And we won. You and I were the only ones who did Ice Dragon. No one else went.
We ice cold.
Casual fire dragons. Casual.
Okay. And then how do I pop out the chat? Of course there's gonna be a delay. Pow. And then now I click this. And I click that. And then bam. Now I have the chats open. So just in case anyone says anything, we can see it. Yay! Oh my god, so exciting.
And is there any like pop cultural things that you want to add real quick?
Huh?
Any pop like movies?
Pop culture? What do you mean?
Is there anything in movies that you like saw like, oh, that looks interesting? Like the Exorcist movie.
What?
Okay. I'm saying,
where's the context of this?
I'm asking, was there any like movie or music or anything that's not specifically gaming?
We can do that later.
Feel it out. Like,
yeah.
We're
already here.
Right,
we already got the.
Here we go. Let's go.
Hello. Welcome to the first episode of the podcast thing. I am MC Gingerbread. This is my homie.
Individual.
Yeah, and my other homie.
And I'm Ventura.
Yay.
Like Ace Ventura.
Yeah, except
double for Ren.
But
like Renfield Ren.
Or like the place, but that works too. That's fine.
Runeterra?
No, Ventura, like in California. We're not Runeterra too. Why not? That's fine.
Okay. Today, at the beginning, we're gonna talk about some cool news stuffs right now because we want to talk about gaming news. So first off, we're gonna talk about how Capcom's president just recently said that video games should cost way more, and I don't think any of us agree with that. But
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to admit that like video games should cost more because like then that means that greedy video game companies can get more of my money, which I don't want them to because I want to play games and enjoy them and not have to spend like an arm and leg to buy them. But also, as time has gone on and things have costed more money, like we just watched that video. They set video games as a standard at $60 in 2006,
yep,
which is like almost 20 years ago. So and like. Everything else has increased in price. Everything. So
inflation, yay!
It's only understandable to make video games cost more, which is unfortunate because that's like my escape. I don't want to have to sit in the dire realism that everything costs more as well in my video game.
Yeah.
I just want to play my game and enjoy it. But yeah. I definitely think that like one of the reasons why everything is costing more, or at least one of my things that I think makes it cost more, is the fact that like they've monopolized game engines, and like you can actually see. I read an article where it was showing like the amount of bits per cost, and the bits per cost have kind of stagnated. Now that like the engines as a whole have been kind of like monopolized by like a couple companies, and I think that that's one of the contributing factors. But I'm not 100% accurate.
I probably would say that yes, you have something like Unreal, which is a really popular engine, or Unity, really popular engine. So a lot of developers go get these licenses using these engines as the groundwork to build their games. But it's not necessarily the case that the engine market has been monopolized. It's just there's only a few really good engines that can do any kind of game you could think of. I like to use the example of Frostbite. Frostbite is not a well optimized engine for anything outside of a shooter. So the reason BioWare has just right now is because they wasted time. The two different Biowares, Bioware Montreal, Bioware, the main company, like both wasted time trying to figure out how to make the Frostbite engine work for RPGs. The one that works the most is not RPG, it's Anthem, and it's basically Destiny, but I can fly like Iron Man sometimes. Like it's shooting games that Frostbite was made to do. So, but if you ignore like specialized engines like that, the only kind of general purpose engines that are really popular: RPG Maker, Unity, Unreal. So not quite a monopoly. Like we have more than one engine dominating the market, but I see what you mean by it. It feels like the everything's kind of hinged into these few like providers.
Yeah.
But that's because the support's there and the versatility is there.
Yeah, I mean, like, and also I think that like they've become such a giant in the industry that like, if like a company were to like come out and like maybe come out with like a cool new optic or a way to create like an engine that's different and interesting. I feel like one of the major companies, probably like Unreal, for example, would probably just be like, "Oh, that's really cool," and just buy them and just integrate it into Unreal instead of rather like let them design as a company itself, because they're just so big that they're like, why should we let them compete when we can just buy them and crush them and make them?
I was gonna say, like, so far in the engine space is a little different because you don't see companies buying engines to get rid of competition. Like the process of making an engine is intensive enough that just the nature of making an engine kind of weeds out competition.
Yeah.
Like the issue is that why even make an engine when they're just gonna go Unreal or Unity anyway?
Fair.
Like the only things I would say would probably have been competitive, and it is still a problem anyway. Your Decimas, your Red Engine, like your Frostbite even, like they actually have they give you the platform to make a AAA game. Problem is, you still gotta make a AAA game. Like the engine is just one piece of that puzzle. And so part of the reason why the game costs have gone up the way they have is that you just have the issue that it takes hundreds of people. And not just people, it takes hundreds of skilled people, unskilled people, like
Janitors.
the time, the janitors, the facilities, like people got pensions, like it's not cheap making games. Like when they make Assassin's Creed and it's $150 million to make it, they have already cut every possible corner to make it $150 before advertisement. Like they've done everything they could. There's nothing else they can do. Like hope maybe AI comes in and it is able to cut the staff in half, but then that's fewer people working. Like, and now it's even more people. Like, wow, gaming is now slightly cheaper. Oh, sorry, it's slightly cheaper for the developers to make it. It is not cheaper for anyone buying them because, let's be honest, the cost never translates to us.
No.
It's only ever been on the production side.
Of course.
So, like, Unreal Engine, the reason Unreal Engine is as ubiquitous as it is in the first place was that Unreal Engine 2 was pitched as, hey, use our engine and license our engine, and it speeds up your development time. It's cheaper for you. And that's what happened. People use 2, they use 3. We're now to the point where we're starting to see that first game, Immortals of Avium, Unreal 5, Remnant 2, Unreal 5. So Unreal has almost dominated the third-person market, the third-party engine market, for what? It feels like 30 years now. When you think about it.
Of AAA titles.
Yeah, just like
I think they started in 2010 or something like that.
No, even further because it was Xbox and PS2 era. So the Unreal 2 engine really kind of overtook the Quake engine as far as a third-party choice.
Yeah.
So, in terms of on consoles, yeah, because I mean, it was still like mainly Source probably dominating PC at that time.
Yeah.
Around everything.
Source
had a lot of proprietary.
Source is just more proprietary, isn't it?
It's mainly Steam.
It's mainly Valve, to be honest.
Yeah, that was the only people that were making things in the Source engine was Valve.
I am sorry, for the Seven early. CryEngine is also a really good engine too. Like that's probably.
But they don't do anything. That company literally owns Time Splitters. They've done nothing.
Classified as abandonware at this point. For how long
makes me so angry. I'm like, bro, bring me back Time Splitters, and they're just like, meh. Like, ah.
I thought they were working on a Time Splitters.
They were supposed to. They haven't shown anything. Nothing. Not a thing.
Yeah, I actually haven't heard about time splitters.
Exactly.
And since now, the last time I came.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what's going on there.
Especially in this, like this is the year of remakes apparently. So
Yeah.
Like, the era of remakes, yeah.
right. Well,
Yeah.
I agree.
But
especially the era.
but this particular year has had some really good remakes. So that's the thing. Like we've been having a lot of remakes recently, but like this year, like shoot, some of the biggest games of the year were remakes. Like
yeah.
Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space.
Yeah.
And then the Final Fantasy VII remake came out like a while ago, but they're supposed to be coming out with a
the-
new one like
the-
what next year? Like the next part?
I think it is next
I
year.
think it's next year because
Yeah,
they showed
the
that at
advertisements are
Games
Tokyo
whatever.
Game Show.
Yeah.
Rebirth.
Gamescom and Tokyo Game Show. So now.
Wild.
Right off the tail end of Final Fantasy 16, so.
Do you have anything to add about games costing more? What do you think?
Ultimately, it just comes down to, at the end of the day, everything always gets passed down to the consumer, and we're just, as history has proven, we're just going to have to go along with it. So hopefully the only hope I do have is hopefully the $70 lasts for the next 20 years. We don't have to worry about this.
Yeah. That would be nice.
Yeah, it's just...
Assuming, well, it's $70, but it's gonna be $70 the same way with $60. It's like
and
$70 plus because
So
there's
$70
DLC,
season pass.
there's loot boxes, season
as
skins.
Unfortunately, as Pattern has capitulated, has refused to capitulate over for AAA titles, but basically just it's going to be $70 for a base beta experience, and then from there, of course, we're going to have microtransactions, DLCs, battle passes, and we're going to reference this a lot, but Baldur's Gate was just such a breath of fresh air in this era of
just everything
base products of just that. Here's $60 for just raw game. There's nothing. It was
no DLC.
There was a very small day one patch because the game worked fantastic out of the gate. There was minimal bugs. It looks fantastic, runs fantastic. The acting, the dialogue, the cinematography, the storytelling, gameplay, the whole game is just came out swinging right off the bat and just ripped Game of the Year away from Zelda, like in a fashion that I didn't even see.
It's definitely a contender.
I mean, if Zelda wins, nothing else for the fact that it's just Zelda, and Tears of the Kingdom was a phenomenal title.
It's not even that. It's Tears of the Kingdom. Like,
it is, and it's phenomenal. But Baldur's just the sheer amount of, from an adventure standpoint of what, like that going on, that sense of wonder. Like, and Zelda is clearly like in that contained experience of Zelda. You knew Tears of the Kingdom was going to basically be that sequel to Breath of the Wild, and you're going to go on this new adventure. And it did feel relatively, somewhat refreshing, but at its core, it was still the Breath of the Wild landscape. It was still Breath of the Wild at that end versus Baldur's Gate.
It's Breath of the Wild 2 plus all these other fully fleshed out physics and game systems.
But create a big dick robot man.
Exactly.
That shoots fire.
And you can do that. Like, that's the other games.
Minecraft is still the test of time. When you give player agency to kind of do whatever you want, those are the games that just go down.
The biggest game ever, Minecraft.
Exactly.
Best-selling game of all time is ever sold, Minecraft.
Player agency is all about, and even its modern competitors and Fortnite and Roblox, like those games where you just, when you have that kind of freedom to let the player do as they wish, or at least give them the sandbox to play with it, that just creates a product with a longer lifespan. And Zelda being a strictly single player experience compared to those other guys, it'll be remembered in the era for what it is. But of course, like, it's never, as not a live service, thank God, because imagine Zelda.
Oh my God.
And there's no DLC or anything for it?
I think they just recently announced a couple weeks ago that
they're only doing the one, aren't they?
There's no plans for DLC, and that's
and they're not doing anything like Tears of the Kingdom in the sequel either. So,
well, they didn't say that. I mean, there's always Easter eggs and hints that the next game, like Tears of the Kingdom, already has references and some hidden bits of the lore that references there could be a third game. Everything from the overanalyzation of what happens to Master Koga, to him in the first game, he fell down the chasm, and then lo and behold, that chasm was that you go down to go in the depths in Tears of the Kingdom, and then when you beat him in Tears of the Kingdom, he goes up into space, or we're like, oh, we're going to space now, like, and stuff like that. Or the reference to colors, how Breath of the Wild was a lot of blues for Sheikah technology. Tears of the Kingdom was green for the Zonai technology, but then now there's references to a third civilization that's like now once again mysterious and hidden from an even farther ancient past. I forget the name at the moment, but now they're referencing like the color red and power because each one's going to represent one of the Triforce. So it's because the Triforce has been mentioned at all since Breath, but that's besides the point. It's yeah, like again, it's all about that contained experience versus that live evolved experience, and just to see where that goes. I mean, yeah, you have it's nice to have a balance of both, but Ballers was that nice that middle ground of what you have where because have they said they're gonna do more?
No, I think
Well,
that
they said
that
they're
they're
on vacation.
yeah
they deserve it.
they're gonna
There's been
try and
delays.
they aren't working on DLC. They are thinking about it, but they are apparently having a hard time trying to get you to higher levels because once you get to certain levels, it's just really hard to balance that kind of shit. Because I mean, like once you honestly like when I got to the end where you're like level 12 and you're dude it's the game becomes like a cakewalk at that point. You're just like whatever. It's like oh big dude with big HP, cool, bop, 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 bop. He's stunned. I destroyed him, immediately dead in like one turn. Fuck you, deal with it. Like
The actual numbers game of that's just it. I mean, they have to. I mean, the blueprint is there to build it like an actual D&D campaign. So I guess they just have to. I mean, to translate that into video game format just because of the power economy of what you have available at that point is massive.
it's yeah, and I mean
So-
like in most D&D games or at least a lot of the ones that I've played through. Like you don't normally go past like maybe 15. Like once you get to like you get to like level 15 and it's just like the DM's like all right we're done. Like we've been playing this for like probably 3.5 years and you guys are so absurdly powerful that it's like it's impossible for me to give you a challenge other than characters that like immediately one shot you.
Yeah, at that point the fantasy just goes out the window.
It's just like I come in with Big Dragon Man. He's resistant to all magic and all damage he hits you. You're dead.
It's just arbitrary challenge for the sake of challenge at that point. It's
Yeah.
not even. Yeah, the end game in D&D needs to be worked on a little bit, and we're on.
But that would be like D&D period. Like that would be not just
It's
Baldur's
the
Gate. That
yeah,
is just
that's what I'm
D&D.
saying.
Yeah.
It's the actual blueprint itself needs to be revamped for how.
How many
D&D
times have we
operates.
revamped it?
Yeah, well, they're currently working on it again.
What are we on right now? What is it?
One D&D right now because they're redoing it. It was on 5e.
We're at 5e.
We're on
right? So
5e,
then
but they're making like a new one that's supposed to be like the universal one.
interesting.
Yes.
So grounds for them to. I'm not going to say. Base a sequel off that because we just got this masterpiece of a game.
Yeah, I don't think
decade.
they're making
Give
anything
another
anytime
decade to
soon.
do this, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
But,
All right, and then also another big news thing is that Last of Us just recently laid off a bunch of people, and so their multiplayer has been put on ice, which I know that hurts you in particular because you're like a big Naughty Dog fan. What's your thoughts on that? Like,
So it's not just Last of Us. It's Epic. It's kind of the whole industry is kind of everywhere. The entire economy is laying people off. Like Fall Guys is a wonderful success for Epic. Yes, I understand it's not as popular as it once was, but the 830 employees that Epic laid off, most of those were literally the people that made Fall Guys. So when you see that even a titan like Fortnite, where the impression is Fortnite prints money, even that company has to lay people off, you know you're headed into something pretty bad. And the original impression used to be that gaming was like recession proof, and it's kind of proving it's not. So right now, I am. I'm not going to say that I am not surprised. I'm going to say I am very disappointed. I was really hoping that this year, when they delayed it, when they pulled the trailer from the PlayStation showcase, I was hoping, okay, maybe at the end of the year we might see some little multiplayer footage for this game. I know there's still time. Maybe they could, but it's really not looking like that because the rumor is not that it's not like it's been delayed further. It's put on ice. Like we've stopped active development, put on ice, and the big talk is that they want to kind of lean more into Last of Us Part 3, which okay, like I will take the good with the bad. I will take Last of Us Part 3 or Last of Us 3, whatever you want to call it. If it means that they have to sacrifice multiplayer, I waited with part 2, I can do it a little bit more. I can't believe I'm waiting a decade for a multiplayer.
It doesn't mean they
game.
don't have multiplayer. They
You sound so pained when you're saying, like, I can wait for more. Like, like crushing.
Well, so here's the thing. There's nothing that is quite as, like, airtight as factions, but at the same time, factions, like, nothing really plays like factions. It's like, hey, remember how Gears of War was a cover shooter, but wasn't because people just ran around with the Nasher? Well, what if we did that as an actual cover shooter where, you know, you get shot, oh, I don't just regenerate health if I go hide in the corner for 10 seconds. No. You got to heal yourself. You got to be more considerate with your resources. You actually are playing with the cover mechanics. Like, this was the cover shooter I thought Gears of War was supposed to be. But the thing is this, like any game has some jank. Like, it's one of the jankiest fucking games you can play. And I was like, wow, part 2 is so smooth, it's so fluid. You can dive! Like, I was like, okay, I can't wait to do that. And I can't believe I'm waiting even more to do that. So it's not happy life.
Yeah, I think a good reason why, like what you were talking about, how like all the games are showing that they're not recession proof. I think also one of the reasonings why they're like laying off so many people as they were is because during COVID, like everything saw a boom in like value and market, like especially gaming, because like people were just sitting at home. So like why not play video games? So then like the video game marketplace like exploded with the amount of people playing it, and I feel like a lot of those companies kind of like geared their like ideas and like their projections of like where they're going to be in the next few years based off of the numbers that were coming in during that unprecedented time in America's history.
To put in perspective, Sony thought that they could make 10 games as a service products at once. They want to have 10 of them released by 2025.
Last of Us multiplayer was probably one of those games.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe it was Bungie who's holding the aspect to axe it, because weren't they the ones?
Yeah, they bought Bungie to be like, hey, teach us how to make these games.
I don't want to be the vindictive guy that's like, I love Bungie, and then I love Naughty Dog, and then Bungie comes in and then just like throws a monkey wrench in the Naughty Dog product, like, fuck you, Naughty Dog, and then I'm like, why can't they just get along? But yes, Bungie probably looked at the project and went, this is not going to have long-term financial viability. Let's just put that on the back burner for a second. Focus on what you're good at. And then Naughty Dog was like, we agree. So, yeah. So
unfortunate.
It's funny you talk about like how none of the no industry was immune to the effects of COVID. But going back to like when I think about it, pretty much every major title has announced some kind of layoffs or went under some kind of controversy right after following COVID. I mean, it was Epic had layoffs, Sony layoffs, Microsoft had layoffs, even like
Google and all them,
Google for all the tech company, all the giants, and then even just like for gaming specific companies. I mean, like even like Niantic for Pokemon Go, like they were releasing
Ubisoft.
Like it just goes to show that even relying on this. Just the whole environment, just how, I mean, as a stand-in for life in general, I mean, everything is fickle, nothing's invincible kind of thing, even the industry such as this one. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how the adverse effects of this, again, it's one of these things we just have to kind of see over time how it goes, just because we're still very much in the infancy of the aftermath of what the resources of this hybrid workflow of home and work and this, we're now in the post-COVID era. What is this actually going to look like in the long run? There's a lot of games that are currently still in development or that were afflicted by COVID that we still haven't seen yet. So what is this going to look like? I mean,
Beyond Good and Evil.
Beyond
Good and Evil, which is now the longest game in development in history.
What about Star Citizen?
No.
It's Beyond Good and Evil.
Beyond Good and Evil.
Actually, no, you're right. Yeah, Beyond Good and Evil.
Beyond Good and Evil 2 is the longest video game in development in history. And after that, it would be freaking pirate game that Ubisoft is also developing.
Wow, Skull and Bones has been in development that long.
Skull and Bones was originally announced, was like 11, 13 years ago, 14 years ago?
It was
right after Black Flag.
Yeah, like 2015.
Because I remember everyone on Reddit was like discussing how they never do.
Damn.
Yeah, I remember everyone on Reddit saying how they not make a full IP just around the pirate, because it's
Yeah, it
been a
was
while.
so cool.
Like, yeah, an actual dedicated pirate theme game because we have
But they won't do it the right way. They keep wanting to do it's pirates, good multiplayer combat and co-op. No, I want it all. Like
We want live service.
take
Just
Assassin's
kidding.
Creed 4 and just say he's not an assassin. He's a fucking pirate from start to finish.
Yeah.
That's all we want.
The whole reason that it's still in development is because they made a deal with the Singaporean government,
Yes.
and they literally are legally obliged to make that game. They have to finish it.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds...
They legally have to finish the game, or else they'll get hit by So it actually costs them more money to cancel it than it would to just continue fake developing it.
see how that works out. It's funny. You actually talk about when was the last time you guys played like an actual
pirate game?
Yeah, like a genuine.
I mean, they came out with a pirate game that was essentially like Band of Brothers and Commandos. I think a couple months ago, if I'm not mistaken. It was pretty.
Did you play?
It was pretty recent. No.
Because what was?
But I saw it.
The last one I played.
Black Flag.
No.
Yeah.
It's more recent than Black Flag.
Oh,
but
true.
It's still pretty kind of old. Made by Rare.
Oh, Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves. That's what I'm getting to. I mean, it was a beautiful product. I just think there's just not enough content.
Yeah. And then they added Pirates of the Caribbean stuff, and that was kind of cool for like a
crossovers.
minute.
It seems that's how all IPs.
And now they're gonna add
crossovers.
the Monkey Island stuff.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, which was kind of cool.
Ironically, the last time I had fun in a pirate game was a mini game in another game. Technically, like the Pirates of the Caribbean world in Kingdom Hearts 3 was actually like actually pretty dope for like as a world within Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts has a load of problems that is by itself, but like just how they handled the arcadey structure of pirates in that game that was actually pretty fun. But yeah, it'd be nice to have a full dedicated because I even dabbled a little bit in remember Pirates of the Caribbean Online? That MMO was out for a little bit. It was
what?
There was an MMO? Yeah, there was an MMO
for Pirates of the Caribbean Online. You start off like in a prison with Jack, and he like talks to you. You break out, and then you start off like you go through the ranks where you start off like in a little like a Hobie Cat boat with like 2 little cannons, and then from there you keep upgrading your ship from there, and you can have other players.
So it's Star Wars Galaxy with pirates.
I wouldn't say that because Star Wars Galaxy's so underrated because that was another one of those player controlled. What are you talking about? Yeah, that was another one of those really rare player controlled economy games where pirates was, as far as I'm aware, was not. There were certain ships you could do for trade, but the overall economy was still based around quests. But like that whole like Grand Exchange RuneScape type effect, like that Galaxies also had. Yeah, pirates wasn't. Most MMOs. That's another why. It's a topic for another time, but player-controlled economies are sorely lacking in a lot of games nowadays for that agency. I think EVE Online's the only one that really does it now.
Because when you do a player-controlled economy, it's kind of hard to make money.
Exactly.
Hi, I'm the publisher of the game. How do I make money off
when
the game?
The players control everything, which is fair. I mean, you could always just do players can distribute the hardware among themselves, but then the cosmetics do whatever. It's time for another time, but like those. It's time for a good, solid MMO.
All right. Speaking of new games that they should come out with, we're going to talk about the next new releases that are coming out this month because there's actually a lot of pretty good ones that are coming out. The next big one before like the biggest one at the end of the month is going to be Assassin's Creed Mirage. Woo! October 5th. That's like
it's only one blade.
Yeah, it's one
the
blade.
days of one blade.
Yeah, it's two days from now on the 5th.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on it? What do you think?
You get to play Basim in essentially what is imagine if you could play Assassin's Creed 1 but in the RPG engine. That's what it looks like, and I think that's fine because the worst it could possibly be is Odyssey. I mean, not Odyssey.
Origins.
Origins. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Origins is fine. Like
Origins
when I played
good.
Origins, I loved it. Like
I
that's
thought it was good.
Outside of Assassin's Creed 2, that's probably my next favorite Assassin's Creed game in the whole series.
Shame on you.
Yeah, no, I did not like Black Flag.
I was about to say, how do you not like?
And people are like, you 4. No, I
mean, like,
4.
I didn't like Black Flag for the
4.
fact that it was not an Assassin's Creed story whatsoever. He literally wasn't an assassin until the last 10 minutes of the game.
Exactly.
But it was so good. It was so good.
But see, it's too easy.
Like
it had Assassin's Creed 3's combat, but it was easier. Like it was easier to chain kills together.
Yeah.
So you would just step on a Spanish galleon and just wipe the whole thing out, and it's like, where's the game?
But it was funny when you would
So-
kick people off the boat and they would go,
It was funny. But you know what's fun instead of funny? The fact that because Bastion is not this fantastic ass kicker like every other assassin up to this point, he has to run from guards, and that means you gotta use parkour, and that means you gotta engage in one of the main pillars that makes Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Free running in a historical setting as a badass assassin.
That's not Prince of Persia.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
I love it.
What do you think? Like, are you excited for it at all, or?
No, I'll probably just watch a walkthrough on it, for all honesty. Assassin's Creed is one of those titles that it became... So I understand that when you set up a story, specifically, like gameplay principles aside, but when you set up a story, there's certain foreshadowing for the way you think something's going to go. And from how... I always go back to the apex of Assassin's Creed mystery, where at the end of Assassin's Creed 2, where Ezio is talking to, I believe, one of the goddesses. I forget exactly which one it was, but she's basically laying out the story. Was it Juno or was
Juno
it
was like the main.
Juno was the main. So Juno
She
was
was
the
the
main antagonist.
right,
But there was another one that's talking about
Minerva?
at the end. I think it was Minerva.
Minerva, yeah,
I think it is
that's
Minerva.
right.
And that whole statement of I'm not talking to you, I'm talking through you, because she's talking to Desmond. And
She's talking to
it
Desmond.
was,
Oh yeah, that was
it was the whole concept of what the stakes were. Maybe it was me, honestly, because most people seem to still enjoy the franchise for what it is, and that's fine. But I had this, for what I thought the potential what could have had. It's completely different and basically unrecognizable from what it became. It's. For one, they didn't. Yeah, I mean, it's always this, but for one,
They actually fired the original creator,
and that's
writer,
why there's no.
So
it doesn't flow the same.
Exactly.
It doesn't.
Like after 2, it's all new people from there.
See,
and Patrice was fired during development of 2, so.
Well, I thought it was during 2. Was
it was during 2. It was literally during 2. That's what. So
I think he left notes.
I thought he left during Brotherhood.
No, it was 2. It was during 2.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure it was during 2. We
Well,
got the internet.
That's fine. I mean, yeah, because 3 was definitely the. 3 was strange because it had the makings.
They had to suddenly cobble the story together.
God, that ending made me so fucking angry, dude. Ugh. Spoilers for Assassin's Creed 3, by the way, but Jesus fucking Christ, that part where they just kill off Desmond, what the fuck?
So his arc was complete. I'll be honest. What else could you do with him? He was assassin.
Bring the whole at least I was really excited, hoping that Assassin's Creed was going to get to the point where it would be an Assassin's Creed in present day, and he's climbing up skyscrapers and shit, and breaking through windows with cool spy equipment and shit. That would have been the coolest fucking concept ever. But instead they were like, nah, kill him off screen. For a thing that doesn't happen, and then in Odyssey, or not Odyssey, the newest one, Valhalla, it still happens. The solar flare still fucking happens. I don't know, man. I was so excited for Assassin's Creed. I was on the fucking train. I was so ready for every Assassin's Creed that ever came out, and then they just kind of shit all over it, and
they never really went anywhere.
They didn't go anywhere.
Any vision, the historical accuracy, or
none of that. Yeah.
Which is fine. You didn't have to do that.
It just did. None of it makes any sense. And then
it doesn't make sense.
And the fact that they're trying to sell this new one, Mirage. I'm sorry for stepping on what you were talking about, but I had to.
You're good.
Mirage they're like, oh, it's going back to its roots. But that's not a selling point. You fucked it up in the first place. You guys messed up your own game, and then are going back to what everybody liked originally because you messed it up. So you're not doing anything for me. It's like when video game companies are like, there's no loot boxes, no microtransactions. It's like, fuck you. It shouldn't be in that in the first place. They
didn't have it at the beginning.
You're not selling me on something. You're just being like, hey, look, we're not being greedy bastards. That's all you're doing is hey, look, we didn't fuck up the gameplay this time. It's like, oh wow, okay, is the game good? It's like. They're like, it looks like Assassin's Creed 1. I'm like, okay, then I can just play the Assassin's Creed 1 that you sold me 7 times because you've remastered it a million fucking times on every console since Xbox 360. So,
and to be fair, if we're talking about the peak of the franchise, technologically speaking, innovation speaking, that was still Unity. And
And then
that has no sequel.
Unity.
And it's a dead end. Like they did Syndicate, which is Syndicate is literally Assassin's Creed
Probably
focus
the most
test,
forgettable.
Yeah.
and that is what transitioned us into RPGs
Yeah.
because all of everything that you hate about RPG Assassin's Creeds are in Syndicate. Just look at it, just play it. But not on PlayStation. You can't play it. I tried to play it on the original PS4. I tried to play it on PS5. You could not play Assassin's Creed Syndicate on PlayStation at all. Period.
You couldn't play Unity either.
Bro,
No,
Unity
Unity will start.
God.
Syndicate, it literally it's bugged out. Like it doesn't even load. You can't even see the screen.
I didn't even finish it.
Like
yeah. I like once Unity came out, that's where I like kind of fell off of the franchise. I like like Revelations like made me like super upset because like that story was like so ass because it was like, oh, you're just stuck in the Animus the entire time, and then it was like that first person mode where you're playing as like Desmond, but you're like you're just doing like a platforming puzzle. Yeah, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And then Unity came out, and I was like, all right, I'm done with this. Like they delayed it like a month to try and fix it, and then the game came out, and it was like like explosions. The game. They were like touting all this cool stuff, and like the multiplayer was so fucking good in the games beforehand that I was like, oh, this is gonna be so great. And then multiplayer, like the storyline of Assassin's Creed, that sounds awesome. And then you play it, and you're like, like womp womp. It's just like the picture of the dude's face, with just the teeth and the eyeballs. Like
the co-op was cool, when it works.
When it works, yeah. Which I don't even. I still think it doesn't work.
That's the problem with Unity. When it works, Unity is probably the best Assassin's Creed game that ever existed. But nobody gave it the time of day. It works probably like 5% of the time. So every other time, it's not the best Assassin's Creed ever existed.
Yeah, and then also the fact that they like what was it? Assassin's Creed Rogue, the one where you played as a Templar. That was like such a cool concept, but they like literally killed it on purpose. Yeah. Because they were like, hey, you know how all the new consoles are coming out? Yeah, fuck you, it's still on 360.
Yeah.
I remember that.
The new one came out on the newer consoles, but that one came out on just 360 and PS3, and everybody was like, "But why? This one was better than Unity."
They finally poured it over.
Yeah, but like at that point, everybody had like lost interest.
Yeah,
and it's like,
if I remember correctly, like the rumors surrounding how Rogue even existed was like it's because it was like a back end project for Ubisoft while trying to make Assassin's Creed after Unity was Syndicate, right?
Yeah, Syndicate.
So like apparently the teams were split, and so like I guess Rogue was like a tech demo essentially trying to go into Syndicate or something like that. I'm not sure the accuracy of that statement, but like
I don't think it was a tech demo because they didn't do anything technologically different. Yeah. They just like made an interesting, weird story, and it was cool.
It was fun. Yeah, we finally play as the bad guys.
Yeah. But I do know like not Unity, but the way Ubisoft kind of does it is that they basically have dozens of dozens of studios across the world are making these games at once. So I think at one point Rogue was like an attachment to. So there's Assassin's Creed 2, 3, and I think the Pirates were at development roughly about the same time. And then Rogue ends up being an offshoot probably of Assassin's Creed 3 that didn't get finished in time. So it became its own game. Because there's actually there's a lot of things in Assassin's Creed where it started off as one thing that becomes its own. Like literally, Mirage it was a DLC to Valhalla that became its own game.
Correct.
A lot of the Assassin's Creed on the handhelds they ended up being like actually Revelations was supposed to be a handheld game and it became its own game.
Yeah, all like the anthology series games, like the like there's the Slavic one.
No, it's Soviet. There's a Soviet, China, and it was Soviet, China, and
there was one more. There was
India.
Thank you, India.
India is an India game.
Going back to your statement though, it's funny. Most people don't have that sentiment because most people just want to stay like in. The common sentiment around Assassin's Creed is people wanted to stay just in the past, like
I'm one of those people.
That was cool, but I'm not gonna lie, the anticipation of in my head, like if I was
like James Bond Assassin's Creed,
I was literally thinking they would get closer and closer to the modern era, and then in my head I'm like, all right, we're gonna get they'll do in the past a little bit because the Dawn of Assassins in the Middle East, all that stuff, but then they would go, all right. So different perspectives in different nations and different cultures, of course. At some point, we're going to get a Chinese one, a Japanese one, let's get a Soviet one, I'm so glad we actually got French Revolution. Like that was
really cool. Yeah.
Unity was fantastic. Just the game didn't work. Whatever. No. But like we got an American one, like Revolution, which was just again is what it is. And the game wasn't perfect.
Well, if you
like,
played Assassin's Creed 3 remade on Xbox One, it's pretty.
Sure. It's
the highlight of the game was the pirate combat, which was essentially the reason why Black Flag exists in the first place.
Yeah, because 4 is a prequel anyway.
Yeah, because they were just like, oh, let's go back in time because pirates are cool. Like people liked that.
The concept, if Ubisoft would actually commit to the idea that one day we would get closer and closer to the modern era, and I was thinking, okay, when are we gonna get like some kind of, because if the way the story operated was like the gifts of Eden that they were using is like the pieces of Eden is that several world leaders and tyrants essentially collected them over the years. And they've been lost, like in official documentation. And now the modern day Templar, Abstergo, the Assassin's Order are trying to find them to basically decide the fate of the human race. And I'm thinking, what a perfect opportunity to basically have a Cold War era Assassin's Creed game. Like I'm literally imagining CIA and KGB, like spy era, like literally Metal Gear, but like Assassin's Creed, and it's literally just spy games. Like that would be the coolest thing ever, and then it gets closer.
You know what would be even cooler if they tied that into Splinter Cell, like because it's owned by Ubisoft, right?
That's Tom Clancy's universe, though.
Yeah, but still Ubisoft.
Yes, it's still Ubisoft.
But they could totally fucking tie that in. They could.
Well, that's what they were doing.
Watch Dogs. The Watch Dogs. But I feel like Watch Dogs would be more appropriate.
But they did. They even in Watch Dogs 1, they even said it was canon. Far Cry 3 had its own crossover also, but that one's canon to a lesser extent. But the whole like concept was that Watch Dogs was going to be Assassin's Creed would keep exploring the historical implications. Watch Dogs into the modern day implications because Bloom was the company.
Yep.
And Watch Dogs Bloom,
CTOS
basically Bloom was an extension to Abstergo's technological, their delinquencies against the governments of the world. And so there's a mission in Watch Dogs 1 where Aiden hunts down an Abstergo official, and it's in there's like this, it's like a found footage picture that you can find, and essentially there's just like this whole concept that, because then in Far Cry 3 there was also this bunker you find that actually has also Abstergo Abstergo intelligence or something. So like people were thinking there's how Far Cry would tie into it, because Far Cry is just a really self-contained story, especially because how Far Cry 5 works out, but that's not the point. But like the idea that one day, just whatever the assassin order would essentially just have to, because their numbers are dwindling, they would have to recruit people like Aiden Pierce, people who are not connected to the assassin order, but to band together to fight against Abstergo's dominance, because they were basically the Illuminati. They were basically controlling the world, and that was just such a cool concept. And we
hate doing modern. Let's to clarify. So I think a lot of us, when we want Assassin's Creed in the modern times, it reflects that we haven't yet looked at the lore. If you looked at the lore of Assassin's Creed, you would know that you could never do a modern time Assassin's Creed because of the implications of what that would mean. Like Winston Churchill, Hitler, and them are all in on it.
They are all
like you could never hi, here's a AAA game where we literally say a British war hero, Winston Churchill and Hitler were buddy. That would never
I mean,
fly.
like George
that
Washington.
Game would get banned.
Yeah,
George Washington was like a villain in Assassin's Creed.
DLC.
Yeah, of course.
The DLC,
and then they like changed it, and he was like, oh, he was mind controlled, so it's cool, no big deal.
I mean, they won't do that. They'll use the story sandbox like that. But at the end, I always thought like, okay, here comes Juno and her ultimate plan for world domination, and somehow you would, I don't know how, I assume it would turn into like Final Fantasy at that point, but we'd have to use the technology of the pieces of Eden to fight, Juno.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess that's kind of what they're saying with RPG stuff, like with the monsters and shit. Like,
yeah. What was the Assassin's Creed?
Odyssey.
The Greek mythology one.
Odyssey.
Was it Odyssey? Sorry, Origins and Odyssey. Yeah, Origins and then Odyssey, then Valhalla. And I mean, yeah, because wasn't there magic in Odyssey?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
you
there was like
Poseidon or whatever.
There was a part where you like meet Hephaestus, which is your dad.
Like, no, it wasn't Hephaestus. Your dad is he's Pythagoras.
No, that's what it is.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And you take his staff, and then he immediately dies. It's fun. It's weird. I don't know. Okay, that was the first game.
Yeah, that topic of itself.
We can list some of the other
Yeah,
games
we
real quick,
tangented it up.
like Wargroove 2,
Wargroove, I feel like
Advance Wars,
Yeah.
but medieval fantasy themed.
Yeah,
like it's cute, it's chibi.
it's coming up on October 5th as well, which is the same day as Assassin's Creed. Which I mean, hey, Chucklefish, who made what else did they make? Didn't they make Terraria? I think. I don't know. All right, now we gotta look things up. Hold on. Well, either way, let's just watch the trailer real quick because I know that there are some people over here that have never seen or heard of Wargroove, and I think that is a mistake because that game fucking slaps. So anyway, let's watch this real quick.
Do a little react.
Yeah.
Reacting right now.
Oh god, it's not loading very well, probably because we're streaming, and it's just like no. But have you played the first one?
Yeah, I played a little bit of it, but I mean, like I said, it's Advance Wars. I'm not trying to be like reductionistic, but yeah, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's just Advance Wars. It's Advance Wars in like mystical times, which is cool. Like
see, I like Advance Wars because it takes Cold War and makes it cute, and I go, oh, I like that. This says medieval but cute. And I'm like, I don't really care.
Aww. I don't know, like there was one. I think there was like one mission that I was playing in Wargroove 1, where it was like you were playing as the dog, and it was so fucking hard that I like got upset, and like I don't think I ever beat it, honestly.
Oh man,
because like I got at the dog mission, and it was just like, all right, this is rough. Haha, pun intended.
Rough.
Okay, and then another one that's coming out after Wargroove is the Forza Motorsport, which of course is always a big one for Xbox. It's one of
drops next week.
The 10th, yeah, that comes out October 10th, which is cool because like maybe that'll be the first exclusive that Xbox comes out with that's actually like well received when it originally comes out. It's because like they've only had like what, 2?
In today's
Redfall and Starfield.
in this market, in this day and age, where consumers are essentially weaponized to be the advocates for greedy corporations.
I mean, they did it to themselves.
Yeah,
honestly.
I don't see how nothing gets reviewed long that's exclusive anymore. Like Last of Us Part 2 got reviewed long.
All right. We'll get to that point because we're like we're skipping ahead now. That's console war stuff. Okay, and then there's Wizard with a Gun that's coming out on October 17th, which is another Devolver Digital slapper. Which like anything that, like if Devolver Digital puts their name on something, I'm like, yeah, I'm buying that because that game. They always come out with something fucking good. Like they didn't do Hades though, right? That was
no.
Yeah, that's the Supergiant.
Supergiant.
Okay, well let's go check out this one
and then
real
remember,
quick.
It was not only was that Supergiant, it was Supergiant, and it was early access.
Yeah, it was.
Steam.
I played through early access on.
it was
on Epic Games. Yeah, I played that on Epic Games before it originally came out. I made a video about it actually. It was like one of the games where I was like, you should play this game now. Like, get this game, and then it became Game of the Year, and I was like, I'm a genius. But like, yeah, nobody actually cared.
So.
Yes.
Yeah, we're getting a sequel. And it looks great. But this is Wizard with a Gun, co-op wizard shooter. Looks fucking sick.
Looks better than Borderlands 3.
It's really funny because like when you're building and stuff like that, you're actually just creating bullets, and you have to like put the the thing that you're crafting in your gun and then shoot it out onto the game. So it's like the whole game is guns, which I assume is probably like a callback to Enter the Gungeon, where like everything is guns in that game. Like even there was like that one gun that literally fired guns. It's just ridiculous. I don't know. It looks freaking awesome.
It does. I'm confident it's gonna be on Switch, but I'm gonna wait for Switch 2.
I think it's coming out on Switch.
Okay. But I'll wait for Switch 2.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, back to us.
I know someone's gonna say Steam Deck. Nah, Switch 2.
Yeah.
If there's any hope for the Switch 2, I'm sure whatever you buy on the eShop has to be transferred.
Yeah, I mean that's got to be backwards compatible.
There's
I'm sure.
just no way it's not backwards compatible. If the entire Switch library is at any point, we even have to entertain the thought that it's going to be compromised on the Switch 2, there's a problem. There's no way that they can't get away with that.
What's the next game?
Okay, the next one after that is going to be the big one of the year. That's going to be Marvel Spider-Man 2, October 20th. They actually just came out with another trailer.
Well,
I don't even watch football, but I was at a bar and I saw it on the. It was during like the football games, and I was like, who's the football fans that's currently watching this right now?
but see, that's the thing. Spider-Man has just
Like just
mainstream
mass appeal.
Just
Yeah,
like,
he's
Superman, Spider-Man,
Spider-Man is
Batman, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man is like the biggest superhero ever, right? Isn't he like the most recognizable?
I think Superman's still the S, just purely for how long he's existed. Superman it's definitely between the two of them.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
fictional
like if
characters
you said
wise,
based off the brands, DC would be Superman, Marvel would be Spider-Man.
absolutely.
Like,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like Batman's probably more popular than Superman.
I would agree now.
He sells more,
Now.
yeah, but overall, like this, Superman is the superhero icon to which all superheroes have stemmed from. Like the S is recognizable no matter what you do, where you are. Like multicultural, you go anywhere in the world, the S means like one thing, and like sure, the Spider thing means one thing, but like the Spider is mainly just Spider-Man. It represents Spider-Man. The Bat is Batman represents Batman. The S represents so much more than just Superman. Like it's a totally different topic, but yeah, it's definitely up there. Spider-Man and Superman, Mickey Mouse and Vader and Mario are like the most iconic fictional characters ever. So
Oh, I forgot Bart.
huh?
Bart from Bart Simpsons.
Oh yeah, Bart
There was
is
a
pretty up there.
Bartmania once upon a time.
Mm-hmm.
That's how old I am.
Okay. And then also the same day that Marvel Spider-Man comes out is Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which they just recently announced, like during their
The
Nintendo
second-
Direct. It was like
the
a
direct before the last.
yeah, it was like a
announcement.
couple months ago.
Which is fascinating on so many.
Yeah, please tell me about it because honestly, I have not watched anything. I don't know anything.
So
about
essentially,
Super Mario.
it's a brand new groundwork for how Mario operates. So it's another
Another side
platformer.
scroller.
It's another platformer game, but it's a new base format. Like how before originally there was the Super Mario. It was Super Mario.
Edition.
So it was the Super Mario format, which was just Super Mario World Bros, that kind of thing. There was the new Super Mario Bros format, which started on the DS and then the Wii U era. Now Wonder is supposed to be this new arc, like a new art style, a new template, just the way the game operates. It's always fundamental, it's a side scroller, but the way the game, like the art style is fantastic. It's really hard to nail down. Listen, I don't know what's going on, but ever since this era of like when Into the Spider-Verse came out, every company has been like just pushing forward these drastic improvements in art style and in shading and watercolors, and it has been phenomenal. Like I'm loving this new idea that they just want. I'm glad we're starting to see better art styles and cinematography rather than just raw graphical fidelity.
So it's not just it's still like a side scroll. It's not like anything like Bowser's Fury or anything. Because I really liked Bowser's Fury and I thought that was a really cool, interesting concept.
Which
Yeah,
I would say,
yeah.
I think Bowser's Fury is a glimpse of what a new full Mario game on a
Yeah.
new system will be. But yeah, no, this is more like a new style of side scroller.
Okay,
It's their
so
new
it's more
2D
traditional Mario stuff.
correct.
More
Like,
traditional, but
like if,
still like a twist. This actually does have a legitimate difference.
Okay.
And some people are saying this is the best side scrolling Mario since Yoshi's Island.
we'll see how that works out. Because I mean, it looks
As long as it has like some catchy ass music, like the.
the music is so fucking interesting. It's multiplayer also.
Oh, true.
You can
Oh,
play
Four
as
players. Yeah.
you can play as
It
almost
also has
everybody.
passive. It has asymmetric too. So like you can see like
yes,
ghosts and whatnot.
yeah, it does. Because you can like race your times and stuff, and it looks really
Ooh,
interesting.
that's neat.
But just the implications of the game alone is this. It's pretty clear the Switch is nearing its end, and I'm wondering if this is because it feels strange for this to be the swan song for Nintendo to usher in the dawn of its the inevitable new hardware that has to come out, and I just. Because we thought, usually a Zelda game represents the last game in one generation, and then the first game in a new one. But just because they released Tears of the Kingdom, that's not the case. So
I guess it's kind of it's kind of the case if you think of it this way. We do live in post-COVID times.
We do.
One of the things that we're going to discuss about Xbox is how, like this year, Doom Year One was supposed to come out this year. So things got pushed by a year or two, more or less. So I can imagine that if Tears of the Kingdom, it still hit its target, but the Switch 2 got pushed back as a result of COVID. Because remember, one of the things that was hard to get was the silicon. You couldn't get the chips.
Yeah. Like the actual shortage of actual hardware.
If you're manufacturing high level technology, that shit was not.
You're probably onto something because there's already been data mining from the very, very dedicated who've actually just been running the emulators on PC. They found, I guess, there's breadcrumbs and basically evidence that specifically Tears of the Kingdom and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have references to some kind of advanced upscaling for advanced hardware. So, I mean, Pokemon
desperately needs it.
I mean, the game just needs to be made
upscaling won't fix anything.
No.
The textures are bad.
It needs to just be made better.
Jesus,
the evidence of just the incompetence of the Pokemon Company. I mean, they got Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, those two games to look that gorgeous, run that just that impeccably on what is basically a glorified tablet running 10-year-old an SoC. Basically,
to be fair, the PS4 and Xbox One are glorified tablets running on 2013 hardware.
Sure, but they still have dedicated GPU systems as opposed to an all-in-one chip that the Switch is going to have as a portable hardware base. Like, it runs off a battery. Like, the iPhone 8 is more powerful than the Nintendo Switch is, and that's
without the power throttle.
And that's
we're going to see RE4 run on. iPhone Max is going to, like, Pro Max is going to be like, wow, cool, this is hot as fuck.
Yeah.
With ray, don't you remember there's ray tracing? Don't forget ray tracing on your iPhone now. But we'll see how this works out. Is this the last big AAA, first party game on the Switch, or is there anything else?
I mean, we also have the last new one, like brand new one. I'd probably say yes for me, because you do have the Princess Peach game coming, which is probably going to be a little smaller.
And it's not the weight of Zelda, Mario, or Metroid, or
Paper
Pokemon.
Mario.
Paper Mario, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, they're remastering.
Well,
it is remade. Like the graphics are remade on that. It's just
a remake
Paper
or
Mario. It's a remake.
It's a remake. Okay.
The only thing about Paper Mario is that because of Paper Mario, like, sure, it's high resolution, but it's Paper Mario. It's kind of eternal.
Pretty fantastic game. The whole RPG mechanics.
It's like the best. It was the best Paper Mario, hands down.
Actually, no. The swan song is going to be the Super Mario RPG remake.
Oh
yeah.
That's probably that's a big deal.
But again, new game, because it's still a remake. I think new game wise, Wonder is probably
the last
like
new
the big new
IP. Not IP, but new games.
I'm in the boat that if that's the case, then does that mean the launch IP is gonna be Metroid? I'm completely on board. Again, you want to appeal to all audiences.
Because they said that the rumors, they said that they're going to be doing a new first person.
Metroid Prime 4 has been in development for they
since the system was announced.
Yeah.
The system came out. And a couple months later, E3 of the following year, so 2016, E3, they're like, so we're gonna have
holy crap.
Metroid Prime 4. It was originally going to be developed in-house by a Nintendo studio, and then
they realized we don't have any experience with first-person shooters. Splatoon is barely a competent shooter by themselves. So the fact that they had to go back to the roots, because it is rare, right?
Retro games.
Rare
is the one who sold out their soul and were gutted by Microsoft, and now they're like, hey, we're making this fairy game, and that just never came out.
Every other studio.
Yeah.
But Retro.
Connect Sports!
I really want to see, what if Nintendo actually takes seriously a first-person shooter? What is that? And, on a full, actual home console system, what does that look like? Because they've experimented on the DS for a while, but I'm actually really excited. Metro is, you have the big three of, Doom and the Doomslayer for mainly relatively PC. And you can argue Half-Life, but then you have, Master Chief, Microsoft.
Master Chief,
And then you have Killzone / Resistance for PlayStation. I know we've had this debate before. It's one of the two.
In first-person shooter terms, I would say
Killzone.
They kind of split. Yeah, they
Even
kind of
though it's
actually
dead now,
they kind of
they're
split it
both
right
dead.
down the
They are
middle
both dead. Such
because
great
yeah,
franchises though.
they're both dead. But Killzone was the one that Sony kind of had more confidence.
It was
in.
the one that they
The
competed
trilogy
against
actually
Halo.
was okay. I'll put it this way. I think they let Insomniac make Resistance because that's what Insomniac wanted to do.
And it was
But Killzone was
game.
the first-person shooter.
It
that
was the one that
supposed to
Sony
be
pushed for.
the
Yeah, it was the
IP.
one that they advertised. So like, sure, but I mean, then again, honestly, I think I'd argue Killzone finished stronger than. I'm sorry. Resistance finished stronger than
I agree.
Killzone did.
Shadowfall was
Shadowfall was
like a wet fart.
tech demo.
Great tech demo, mind you.
Solid.
What about Haze?
Haze, you know, if they ever take it, because do they still own the rights for Haze?
No, I don't think so.
Haze was published by Sony, but
did they own the rights? Because who's the developer for Haze? I thought Sony owned the
the
rights.
developer is no longer with us.
Oh,
They
so
were the
Sony
ones that
probably-
made
yeah,
Time Splitters. Yeah, that's why Haze was so disappointing. It was like you made Time Splitters.
It was also a tech demo for the PS3.
How could you fail?
Yeah.
That's another game that was a tech demo.
You were supposed to make a great person shooter, not ruin it.
Not join them. And then we're almost done with the games. The last game that's coming out at the end of this month is the big one for not Xbox anymore, right? They don't own Remedy.
Exclusive, yeah.
Alan Wake 2, which oh my god, that game looks so freaking good.
Get it on PC.
Yeah.
If you can get it on PC, if you have a 4090 on your PC used for Bitcoin mining, fuck that for a second. Play Alan Wake 2. You don't understand what you're missing.
It looks so good. I just love the concept of like the mind palace thing that they have, where you can just go to without like having a second thought.
And, you know, this
no
is
loading
current
screen.
gen, so there's no loading. So
No
you just
loading.
go right into
Just
it.
into it.
Like this is the
that's
most
so cool.
current gen filling game that's been announced. Like everything up to this point, like Horizon, like beautiful as it is, like it feels like a PS4 game.
Mm-hmm.
But Alan Wake 2 does look like what that
the new
that
gen
Matrix
consoles.
demo was promising.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's getting there.
It looks so good, and like I just love. I don't know about you, but like I'm like a huge fan of like detective games, and like the last detective game that's come out was like what LA Noire, and that was really it.
Yeah, that was also like a tech pusher
essentially.
too. Yeah.
Like they
but
had like
it was a Sony exclusive. That's why.
Well, it was on.
No, it started development as a Sony exclusive.
Oh yeah.
Then Sony then couldn't hash it out, so they ended up selling basically that project to Rockstar.
Yeah, it was Rockstar.
Took it from there, and then it was published by Take-Two, and the rest is history from here on. But what I'm basically saying is, even though Alan Wake's not going to be a proper detective game, this is the closest you're going to get to Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the closest you're going to get to like Noir, the video game.
Yeah, I just want a detective game.
Detective.
I like games that make me feel smart, but not so that are so difficult that I'm big dumb. I have to look up how to figure like I mean, Obra Dinn is cool because that game was like literally a detective game. You have to like solve a murder and everything, but it's just like I kind of like the pretty looks, so like it's kind of nice to have both pretty looks and detective-based gameplay, which is
conventional gameplay. Like just the fact that it's a shooter.
Yeah,
like it's third-person combat.
It's not just an 80 shooter. It's a survival horror.
Yes.
It looks
like
eerie.
If Resident
copyright territory for Resident Evil.
Yeah, if it was gonna have any competition, I'm glad it's Alan Wake.
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, I feel like Capcom needs to take some advice from their own, start like going back to their roots, because I mean, like Resident Evil 7 and 8 were good, but like God,
I don't know, 4 Remake has by far my favorite Resident Evil combat. Like
by all means,
they finally figured out how to actually balance the melee and ranged combat to where it actually made sense. Like it took them forever to figure out how to actually. Resident Evil has I've never seen a franchise have a bigger crisis for having the most. Like every single game aside from 4, 5, and every game after that basically, and then like plays different. Like 1, 2, and 3 play the same. 4 and 5 play with us the same. 5 is just a perfected version of 4 for combat. Then 6, I have no idea what's going on in Resident Evil 6.
Dude, don't even. But let's not talk about that game.
Yeah, but 7 and 8 relatively the same.
Weirdly enough, so if you think of it this way, 6 to now, 6 to RE4 remake was them trying to like find
how do we make
what is a
action
modern
horror?
Resident Evil game. Is it the first? Do we just commit to the trends and go first person?
I think
Do
first person was the
we
wrong call.
stick to third person and figure out how to make that work?
And they
RE4
played with
remake
both.
is okay.
And I give
we
them
figured
props
it
because
out.
they played with both. Because Resident Evil 2 remake was their experiment of trying to, how
Mm-hmm.
can we stick with the third person, and then I think they're conceding to wanting to go back to third person because I'm gonna be honest, it's just more. There's something sad. First person is fantastic for immersion. I agree, but there's something about the third person combat when you can follow up by kicking someone in the face.
Yeah.
That's just too satisfying. And
Oh,
you
it's
just
so
don't,
great.
You don't get that in first person, unfortunately. It's not the same.
If the only downside
Oh, but
to it is
VR,
you
VR, come on.
Yeah.
VR,
you can't get to play as Hunk in the main gameplay, so you can somersault or freaking
suplex someone,
suplex them
yeah,
instead
yeah.
of just like kicking them. Just dude, that shit was so much fun. Yes, I want to throw them over my shoulder. You stupid fuck ass zombie. Ah.
Resident Evil 5 remake.
Oh yeah.
Totally different topic, but
Okay, we are here now finally to the main topic after like an hour and a half of just rambling. All right, so we're gonna talk about the console wars and like just general ideas of it. So like this question is for you because I know you wanted to answer it. Is it good for the industry? Is console wars good for us?
So I'll bring us I'll bring a slight little bit of nuance.
take a sip.
The simple answer is
the
yeah.
salt.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
simple answer is yes, but with the asterisk. The reason yes is competition is good in any scenario because competition is going to drive your quality. It's going to drive your innovation. It's going to drive ideas if you're honest because if there was no let's be honest. What a monopoly represents is not only the lack of competition but the lack of ideas. And as a monopoly, you can just dictate product. You can dictate prices. You control the market. You're the only one in the market. But by having that competition, even if it's only a little bit of competition, now everyone has to stay on their toes constantly because they're trying to one up each other. There's this one upmanship quality that's going to keep things going. However, we kind of alluded to this earlier. The fanboy quality, where everyone is now shitting on each other, like doing these review bombs on games, is like, I want to see why this game is bad. Not that you're a Sony fan who's mad that Starfield is on Xbox. Like those are two completely different things. The fan base arguing over stuff, leave that in the playground.
Yeah.
Like I want to know if this game is worth my money or not.
You take the bias out and actually like just.
And I can tell you right now, if Starfield was on Game Pass, would have just ignored it. Wouldn't have changed anything in my life. I got 35 hours in and I went, I'll come back to this at some point.
Yeah.
I haven't, but at some point I will. I really say Sony is the one that really responds most to competition. And what I mean by that is currently the PlayStation, they got a lead. They make the best quality games in the market. I'm just gonna say it right now. Just 100%.
The first
full
party
chest.
games, I would
First
say.
party games
Yeah.
are the best that you're gonna see. Like Gears of War 5 feels like, hey, remember the Order 886? What if we made a less visually pretty version of that? That's what Gears of War 5 is. And like, I know some people are gonna say, well, didn't you do that backwards? No, in video games, the leader is the motherfucker that's actually pushing the tech. They're pushing the envelope. And if we're going to talk about third-person power shooters, like just specifically, the Order 886 was the last envelope pusher in that market. Gears of War 5 is still playing catch-up.
Yeah, they
When
didn't
I
even...
saw the demo, like the little Unreal 5 tech demo with the dude in the frozen ice, that looked like the Order 886. Like, okay, now you're catching up to what Ready at Dawn did in 2016. Like, that's how long ago
I don't know,
they
man.
pushed that bar.
Gears of War didn't have any flaccid wieners like they did in Order, so...
Yeah, no flaccid wieners, no werewolves. Like,
yeah, lame.
Yeah,
0 out of 10. Not a good game.
And ultimately, listen, honestly, if the Order 886 had a multiplayer, I think it would have been better received. Because the really issue was, everyone bitched it was short. It's 5 hours! No, it's a movie, not a game! But ignoring that, again, Sony hears those responses, they hear those complaints, they go, oh, potential weakness, competitive spirit. The same competitive spirit that got Sony into the industry when Nintendo was like, yeah, no, we'll go with Phillips to get the CD. And Sony's like, fuck you with it! And it hops in with their own console and then just starts pumping games out. That's how we get to that's how we get to where we are now.
What do you think? Do you think that like the
original
console war,
question?
the console
Yeah,
wars? Do you think
console wars good.
is it good for the industry? Do you think it's useful?
Like every industry, competition is good, but the way it's just like sports, man. People just hate the other team just because it's from somewhere else, like
Yes.
for no other reason, just because they can, because they look different. It's just
Sometimes they look different.
human nature is just dumb. But like when it comes down to the attitude surrounding it, because the problem is competition is good, but the issue comes down from how the response of the communities respond to other communities, and then the danger of the leaders of that community, such as Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo, when they can weaponize their community against the other, and basically it just creates this needless animosity to divide the gaming industry. Like usually on social media, like it's the very few heartwarming things where you can see like, oh, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo will release something, and then you'll see all the other ones like from the other ones comment like, "Good job." Like I remember when Tears of the Kingdom came out, Sony and Microsoft were like standing in solidarity, like, "Yeah, Nintendo," and then like I think when Starfield released, I think Sony. I don't remember if Nintendo had said anything, but I think Sony did comment or something like something on the stars, or whatever. I do remember when like Destiny, which technically is still like not owned by anyone. Technically, it's still they own Sony owns
like
Bungie.
Bungie owns Destiny.
Yes, and Sony owns Bungie, but they don't own Destiny.
Exactly, they
Correct.
don't own any IP.
So
just the
like,
company.
and they came up with the trailer for the final shape or whatever, and then everyone except Nintendo, because obviously Nintendo just keeps themselves. But like there's moments they'll they have the moments of public, nice PR just to say that, they're standing in solidarity. But then you have moments where Sony uses their weight as a weapon to just mold it, push the narrative in their favor.
No crossplay.
They're part of the problem, man. When Fortnite was trying to, didn't we talk about this when we said what was the game that accidentally turned on the servers for crossplay?
I think it was Fortnite.
It was Fortnite, and then basically people were like saying, "Wait a minute, why am I seeing copies of usernames from on the same platforms going on?" And then Epic was like, "Oops." And then Sony and like Microsoft was chill. They were just like, "What's going on?" And then Sony's just like, "Bro," writing down the receipts for like several $1 million lawsuits at Epic, and then Epic immediately just shut it off. Like they're getting better with it, but competition is good. Yes, because we just need to have. We need to have games.
As the defense attorney for Sony, I will admit this about my client. They're not. Sony is one of those companies where once they get a lead, they start to sit on their ass.
But they'll all do it. It's not. It wasn't that long ago when Xbox was doing it.
Oh, I mean, yeah, dude. Like, do you remember? Do you remember when Xbox came out with they would like hinted at the idea that they were going to make it so like when you install the game. You can only install it on your home console.
You can't share the disc or anything.
And then Sony came out with that video that was like, here's how you share a game on PlayStation. And then they handed out. And then little did we know, like a couple months beforehand, they patented an idea to do that exact same thing. And it's like, bro, fuck you. Like, it's like...
There's no one plays innocent.
It's
whoever gets the better PR at this point. Sony, that is the day... Listen, first party games are one thing, but it's still that PR, because before that, Xbox was the leading in the AAA industry because their online play for Call of Duty, Battlefield,
specifically in 7th gen console. That's the only
360 PS3
360
era.
was the only era where Microsoft had any semblance of a lead.
It was the first time where console online gaming was viable to a point where consoles were cheap. Consoles.
It was viable in 6. Like Halo 2 moved units, man.
And it was pretty much only Microsoft coming on that
as a culture.
Microsoft coming off that success because PlayStation had the network adapter, which was so much fun. I played a lot of Battlefront 2 on that. But there's that. But them
still cool.
Coming from that point, Microsoft had. It'd be interesting to see how the market would look like today if that sentiment never happened, because it was that you couldn't share games, but then it was also, do you remember the whole pay-per-view with the Xbox camera? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would scan how many people were in the room, and then you have to pay depending how many people are watching the
And you know what?
thing you're
That all
watching.
it tied into the whole. It always had to be online.
Always
need
online.
You need to have the
You
Connect.
need the Connect. Yeah, you had to buy the Connect when the Xbox One originally
Well, it
came
came
out.
with a Connect. The Xbox One did come with the Connect.
Yeah, it was the most expensive console ever at the time. It was $500. They've never been that expensive.
If you didn't have the Connect, it didn't work.
It didn't work without the Connect.
Which is astonishing. A world closer to Big Brother. I really wonder. It's an interesting what if scenario because Xbox, regardless had they not came out with that sentiment or not, I wonder because at the end of the day, the first parties still make or break how this stuff, what sells, the hardware sells, and where your friends are, or what titles exist within that ecosystem.
True.
So the fact that Sony had both of those, where your friends are, most of them are going to Sony because of that entire sentiment, and because they were swinging first party. Because in the seventh generation, 360 and PS3, every game just felt like everyone was trying to make a name for themselves. Everyone was fighting for their life, and it was fantastic. So many heavy hitters, everyone trying to push the envelope.
Mm-hmm.
Then PS4 and Xbox One came around, and Nintendo was always doing Nintendo's thing with the disaster of the Wii U, which is
But there was, if I kind of rewind us back to that 7th gen period, there's some euphoria, but there was also the doom and gloom just on the horizon, because we were at the point where mobile games were making so much money and were free to play. They were just making so much money that
Pokemon
people
Go, bro.
were. This is before. Think about this. This is before Pokemon
2016,
Go.
right?
Yeah.
No,
so
this would have been 20. This would have been 2013 and 2014. So they were looking at consoles and they were thinking, "Yo, does this even make sense anymore?" Microsoft was pivoting out of games, like bigger than games, because yes, it was a big industry. Like we could argue that it overtook Hollywood probably about 2007, 2008. Like in Killzone 2 is PS3, and Killzone 3 is also PS3.
Yeah, for sure, Killzone 2 is on PS3.
I believe Killzone 3 was 2011, and then Killzone 2 should have been 2000. It's either 8 or 9.
Great cinematic first-person combat. It's pretty cool. But
my brain,
again, just that whole tail end, and then that's a whole other topic of how the death of mobile games going into the 8th generation of gaming. It was basically just Nintendo, because Sony gave up on PSP and their completely lack of support for the Vita, and just in a weird mobile way, gaming was taking over on iOS and Android.
We could clarify the death of handheld gaming. The handheld gaming died, so only Nintendo remained, and then Nintendo basically said, let's take our console and let's take our handheld, merge together, and now handheld gaming is dead. There is no such thing as handheld gaming. There's only mobile gaming now.
Okay, correct. If you're distinguishing handheld and mobile,
correct.
Yes, okay, that's fair.
Handhelds, and that's why when people go, "Oh, is Microsoft going to get into handhelds?" No. Nintendo got out of handhelds. No one's going back into that.
No one.
That's why we got that Project Q, right?
Sony's like, we're not going back into that.
You guys want a remote play controller?
Fundamentally, one of the worst hardware products I've ever seen. It doesn't do anything.
No,
it literally doesn't do anything.
Okay, well, I wanna let me answer the question as well, because I wanna also talk. The one thing that I wanna bring up about the whole industry, like if it's good for the industry, is the I think that yes, console wars can be good for the industry when it comes for competitiveness and everything like that, because that drives innovation. But it feels like a lot of the time, especially recently, they've just been coming out, especially between like the main two, Xbox and PlayStation. They come out with the same console. Both of the consoles do the exact same thing. There's no hardware difference between them essentially at all whatsoever. The only thing that really drives the sales is the exclusives, which I think is like adamantly dumb. Like, because it just, all it does really is just be like, who's got the bigger pocketbook that can buy the company that's making the cooler game? And that's all they're really doing. Is like, hey, this game that's really cool, yeah, we'll give you this much money to just let us have it, so then we can sell more of our hardware. Which, like, is super lame, because why don't you just make your hardware better than the competition, and then your hardware will sell more?
Well, they did that. It's called Xbox One X, and PS4 Pro, and PS4 still outsold it. Like, it didn't matter. Like,
yes, because PlayStation had the better exclusives at the time, and they still do.
They still do.
Yeah.
So the key to selling hardware, like the term used to be before there was a Call of Duty killer or a Halo killer. It used to just be system seller. What is the game that your hardware has that's going to push it? And surprisingly, it used to be arcade games. It used to be, hey, you want Virtual Fighter 4 on a console? Get it for the PS2. That's the best translation of the arcade machine.
But then, games marketed as these massive online experiences or these blockbusters where, these games are essentially movies now, which is fantastic with the budget provided. But yeah, no, Sean's right. It's just, again, where your friends are or where the exclusives are. But that's part of the problem. It's because, again, we live in this, it literally feels like we live in the altered timeline where Microsoft made all the worst decisions possible. Because if you're talking about whoever has the money to buy up the most companies,
Microsoft.
It's Microsoft.
Yeah,
and
every
the fact
time.
is they basically
100%.
they completely fumbled over the transition to 7th to 8th generation.
Yeah.
And Sony had all this. They played their cards out and realizing, okay, we simply do not have the capital to compete with Microsoft in the overall grand scheme of the technological industry. So, because Sony at its core is a production company, Microsoft is an IT company, and then here they are competing in their gaming industry. So, how does Sony distinguish itself? How does Sony gaming beat Microsoft gaming? Tell better stories. At the core of everything, where does this stuff come down to? A lot of people like multiplayer games. We're seeing recently that a lot of people are tired of the microtransaction multiplayer half-baked nonsense. Single player is really... We like single-player games, and that's never going to change. We love them. So the fact that Sony just has that, Microsoft doesn't.
No.
They just don't name... It used to be Sony's heaviest hitter was what?
God of War.
It was God of War. Then Xbox was
Halo.
Nintendo was Mario basically, and then
Zelda.
Pokemon and Zelda basically. For me, it's everyone. It just depends on what you go for. Nintendo has the distinctive. You have the icons for them.
Yep.
But Halo is
Dead.
basically non-existent anymore, which is unfortunate to say, just because of the 343 just doesn't know what they're doing. Sony now has so many genre-defining There's this picture Sony has.
And it all started at PS3 for the most part.
All their heavy hitters really started with PS because you have, when you think of the mascot for Sony, now it's probably definitively Kratos now. But before, I remember you can probably find it on Google.
Argue Joe and Ellie if they didn't ship the bed with part 2. But,
Well, it's funny. It's there's
maybe
a picture.
Nathan Drake.
No. There's a picture. There's a picture on when you go. It was for one of Sony's showcases. It was something like. It was a showcase for one of their events, and it showed all their series of blockbuster characters. It showed Kratos at the back, like a Darth Vader, just hovering over as their biggest bad, and then at the very front, you had it was Kratos, then it was Aloy and Ellie, I believe, and Joel, somewhere in the middle. But then at the very front was Nathan Drake.
Mm-hmm.
It literally had them going kind of in a line of because before God of War came back. It was Nathan Drake. Yeah. It was the Sly Cooper type, when it's Sly coming back also, by the way. But Nathan Drake being at the core because Uncharted just hands down had just the most impeccable writing at the time before Last of Us or God of War came back. And him being the face of PlayStation he was kind of unrivaled at the time because even then Halo was still kind of...
still is unrivaled.
Uncharted was?
Yeah.
I mean...
most people better video game story.
The only game that
name a better IP narrative.
The only game that kind of tried to compete with it was Tomb Raider, and
it doesn't really. It's Square Enix, and the games have gotten progressively worse.
Yeah, which is so wild. The first one was the best one,
and
then the second one was okay, and then the third one was
make sense.
What
the gameplay was weird.
Weirdly enough, if you could take this is a quick aside, if you could take the leveling mechanics from Shadow of Tomb Raider, the gameplay mechanics of Rise of Tomb Raider, and put them all back in Tomb Raider 2013, that'd probably be the best Tomb Raider game that ever existed. Because everyone has good elements. It's just the first one is kind of bare. Most of your XP is just
it's
arbitrary. It's now I get more XP.
It's just to see a number go up to have you to keep playing the game. It doesn't do anything.
2's story was kind of goofy.
Yeah, it was kind of goofy.
2 and 3 story was dark, but it was all over the place.
It just made no sense.
It's hard to keep track of 3. It was strange. And then you have Uncharted making these. They should be movies, honestly, but just how and then again the one movie they made was awful. Yeah, Tom Holland was
Mark
just great.
Wahlberg.
Yeah, I don't know. About that. Uncharted 4
Mark Wahlberg was
just-
originally supposed to be Nathan Drake, and it took them so long to make that movie that he became Sully.
They should have just had Nathan Fillion do it. He did
Why
that.
not
Like,
have Nathan Fillion?
yeah,
do it?
Nathan Fillion. He did that like fan made
Yeah,
video,
he
and it was
did.
fucking
He was
amazing.
fantastic.
And then they were just like, meh. It's like, why? He's like literally born to play that role. It was like essentially the same thing with like Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool. He was fucking like looks like him, sounds like him, acts like him. Fucking just do him.
Built like him. Like,
It's like-
I don't know. What
And they were
was
like,
going
meh,
on with that.
nah, let's not do that. Let's make Tom Holland because Tom Holland's hot right now. Like, yeah, he's Spider-Man, and we own Spider-Man, so we can just tell him what to do.
Can't wait for the Holland verse movies to come out, where it's just all the Tom Holland's characters. Like,
Yeah. We're gonna have Nutty Professor 3, except it's just Tom Holland.
It's Tom Holland. The Holland verse, I can't. That's another discussion at some point where we got to talk about how good idea. I mean, the gaming industry seems to be Sony and Microsoft are getting bored, and now they want to. Well, not bored, but I think they're realizing the potential that it's not just about gaming anymore, but the storytelling's potential for a larger universe. If they can make these universes all interconnect between different mediums, gaming and movies, and then maybe comics, books, some other like self-expression, like that's people like it when they see things in different areas come together. Like that's just
As long as they
that's
keep
just-
it, you know,
if they keep it
close
the
to the source
quality,
material.
Yeah, source material and the quality's there.
So
Like,
transmedia.
You know, not fucking the Halo series where the guy takes off his helmet in the first
doesn't-
10 minutes.
to this day, the only one to really pull it off, the only IP to
Forward Unto
relatively.
Dawn. Forward Unto Dawn was really good for Halo. But anyways, sorry about that.
No, I mean, well, it's still like self-contained, but
Yeah.
you're right. The only IP to really nail it so far, even though it's still loosely very connected, the only IP to exist to have complete canonicity and continuity between all medias, all forms of entertainment, is Star Wars. Like consistently across movies, games, books, everything. Like it's one constant story. Some of it crosses over. Because Marvel and DC, I wouldn't say they still count because relatively every Marvel and DC game is still totally separate from anything else Marvel and DC. Even though Marvel's Spider-Man in the game looks
I would
like this
say
weird
that's true of
amalgamation
Star
of the MCU.
Wars up until the Disney acquisition.
If anything, it's getting
So
It's
there's
getting more
it's getting more
There's
connected.
there's two. I would say it like this. There's two. The reason the prior to Disney acquisition is that one works is because George Lucas is like, you want to make the content, here's a license.
Yeah, but
Have at it. It's all canon.
Yeah, but Lucas
With
didn't
varying
make
levels,
it feel.
with varying levels of canonicity. So you could have things coexisting with each other. It didn't even make sense. But unlike a
Yeah, it
comic book
didn't.
series, they weren't retcon.
They
So you didn't
weren't.
have like 6,000 or 5,000 retcons. Where it's like, wait, so what's canon? What's not?
They retconned freaking
Star Killer.
Star Killer.
Yeah, well, yeah, all
Well,
the
no,
one
but
time
Star
they did
Killer
it
got
for-
retconned Disney. See, and that. So yeah,
No, they
Star
retconned
Wars,
him. They retconned him before
Into-
the second game even came out because they were
Oh,
like,
no,
hey, "Let's
it's
do
a
some dumb shit."
They turned him into a clone.
Yeah.
So he's not retcon. He's just
No,
They
it
just
was
expanded.
canon. Like Force Unleashed is no longer canon as the Disney era, but technically now things are more connected than ever. I mean,
they're more connected. Yes, that's why I said there's two though. So there's because those are not the same continuities. Is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, okay, yeah,
They're different
yeah.
continuities,
Legacy
but the same-
continuity
yeah,
was a
Star
mess.
Wars, yeah.
And, I mean, it's
Yeah.
still technically a mess, but yeah. And then we're going, yeah, continue, yeah, again.
All right, so now let's go ahead and get into the individual gaming, like the game consoles discussions, where we want to talk about you, Mr. Sony boy over here. How is Sony
Sack
doing?
boy. They call
Yeah.
me Sack boy.
How is Sony doing in the console war era? Like, how do you think?
So if we're gonna say the eras, I would say in the 9th generation console era, Sony is doing very good. However, Jim Ryan's sudden retirement suggests that it won't be very good forever, or even that
Much
soon.
longer?
Yeah, because like you don't just suddenly retire.
No.
Like it's not like there was Mass has barely been president. It's like he's been president since pandemic, and he just suddenly's like, I'm retiring.
Yeah.
So it's like he's going out on a high note because we're about to see a really low note, and I can see how because there are 10 games of service. Oh, maybe 9 games of service games in development. And let's just be honest. When the multi-platform developers do it, or when the indie companies do it, they make these games. These games hit the market. They get a surge of players for like 5 minutes. That surge of players drops. By the time they get their services up to snuff to handle that surge of players that's no longer there, they don't come back, and then the game just kind of hovers in maintenance mode until it dies. Just like MMOs of old, like it's
All
like
MMOs.
it's the same pattern over again. These games that are based off of your or retaining your engagement based off of time like that, you can only have so many of these games existing at once. The big games right now: Fortnite, Call of Duty, CS:GO,
League of
League of
Legends.
Legends.
You could argue Destiny is still up there. Destiny is still,
Destiny's still pretty high.
by the numbers in comparison. I mean, it's still like top 10 on Steam.
Yep,
Mhm.
top
so
10.
Destiny is still that. World of Warcraft is still played relatively.
Minecraft.
Oh yeah, Minecraft. Roblox.
Roblox.
Up there.
And that's already 8. And Sony said, "I want to make 10 of these." Sony, were you gonna knock out any of these 8? Because that's what you're saying. Like when you're making a game as a service game, you're competing with the big ones. There's no small market to compete for.
No, you can't.
Because guess
people
what?
don't
Escape from Tarkov, for instance, that's his own little fiefdom.
niche community.
Unless you make Escape from Tarkov, you're not entering that space. There's literally like I was looking up Escape from Tarkov. Like they have like 20 different ammunition types,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like,
It's very complex.
why would I even
niche.
fucking bother playing this? Like why? That's not even fun anymore. And I was just thinking to myself, yeah, you're not going to convince a Tarkov player to come over. And wait, the next most casual game from that, ready? The next most casual game is Hunt the Showdown. Wait.
Casual,
These
yeah.
are the low tier games of service games, mind you. These are the low tier. Do you see Hunt the Showdown? You use a lot of single action, slow firing weapons, and you're shooting people from like 200 yards away. And when you get shot, half your health is lost. These are not casual games by any stretch of the imagination. So whatever Sony is cooking up is going to fall flat because it's not going to have the critical mass to compete with something like a Fortnite or Call of Duty. You know what? Sony's got money; they can throw it. No. Sony has money to throw into a single player game and make sure that's the highest quality product it could possibly be. Sony does not
It's
have the
well
money
done.
to sit there with a game that not only costs $100 million to
Requires
make,
constant
but requires
maintenance.
$10 million to
Constant
maintain.
maintenance.
And they have 10. They announced
It's
10 of
not-
these. That's the problem. It'd be different if they said 1. No, 10. That's why I'm like, Last of Us Factions 2 being put on ice, that makes sense. I want that to be good. If anything, if they could take the live service shit out, oh, it'd be even better. I'll wait for none of it. Like none of the live service shit. Because elsewise, I'm like, I'm not liking where Sony's going. And the new president, so they have the interim president, right? The new guy, I'm forgetting I forget the guy's name, but it doesn't sound like because he's an interim guy, he's not gonna have enough time to make any changes, any adjustments.
His job isn't to make changes, just to keep
It's
the
just to
ship
maintain
afloat.
exactly.
Yeah, just to keep
So he's just gonna maintain what Jim set in motion, and part of me is like, you need to pull more plugs. Like seriously, just pull more plugs. Focus on single player games. Weather the storm. Because if you really think, my big concern is, as we mentioned earlier, they announce all these live service games based off of a pandemic economy that's never coming back. And if that's the case, Sony's fucked. They're fucked. Well, yeah, that's my stance on Sony.
Quality over quantity.
Yep.
10 live service games
It's-
just sound like they're making 10 gotcha games for mobile.
And
Exactly.
And the thing is that all the live service games, they're all competing for the same amount. They're
Exactly.
competing for the
You're
same
not gonna
group
have
of people.
10 all heavy hitters.
Yeah,
that
there's no way that there's gonna be a person that is a normal gamer that's going to find a live service game and be like, I'm gonna play all of these
there's
at
no
the same
way.
time. People don't have enough time in the day. Especially now with everything costing more, everybody's gonna have to dedicate their time to one specific thing. And if they've got to choose between 10 Sony exclusive live service games, it's like they're just shooting themselves in the foot multiple times. I gotta split this up between all these people. It's just not.
If they're smart, they release it on PC day and date.
Yeah, but I mean, do they
But it's
ever do
also
that?
Sony. Yeah.
It's rough. And then also, of course, I still want to roast the Project Q for a couple seconds, just because I think it's the dumbest thing I've ever
I
seen.
agree.
Dumb-
I completely
it's-
agree.
It's there's no way that
I can't defend
anyone
that.
No,
They
there's
took
no.
my PS5 controller, they cut it in half, they grabbed a freaking switch, stuck it right in the middle, glued the things back together, and said, "Here you go."
Here you go.
And I said, "Wait, where's the disc drive?" They're like, "It's for streaming. I can use my phone to do this."
Yeah, and it's not no OLED screen, no no network connectivity. Like it has no LAN network, so you have to have the internet in order for it to function. It doesn't do apps and it doesn't do Bluetooth. It like literally you have to pay another $200 to use their fucking wireless Bluetooth headset, and it's the only one that works. The only headset. What? $400 I have to spend to remote play my PS5 from my fucking toilet? Like, get the fuck out of here.
They looked at the Wii U and they said, "Hey, how can we do that
but worse?"
I really want to be. I really wish I was in the room when they came up with this idea and they're like, "Yeah, people are gonna buy this." Because for sure, there's always someone who's gonna buy it.
Yeah,
just because they see PlayStation on it and they think like just like Apple, they're like, "All right, let me just brand loyalty, brand recognition, whatever." That's fine, but like.
After the initial sales,
when they there was a group of executives that sat down and said, "Okay, this is who this is for." I would love to actually hear the dialogue of saying, based off our data and our analysis, this is exactly who we say this is for.
Those people don't exist.
I don't understand. Besides just the shills who want to buy it because it says PlayStation on it, I don't. What is it for? Like, what do you do on it that you can't? If you want to use PlayStation Now or whatever stream, use your phone. It doesn't even
work with their streaming service. Like their cloud streaming service that's going to come out in a couple months after the Project Q comes out. It does not work with their cloud streaming service.
Are you serious?
I am 100% serious. That literally doesn't. It doesn't work. It doesn't work with it. Batshit insane. Like what? Like what is going on, guys? How did you come up with this concept? Like it's you know how like Diablo, the Diablo devs got in trouble because they were like, "What? You guys don't have phones? You guys don't have now?" And the Sony devs are like, "What? You guys have phones? Shit!" Like, damn it! Like that was our whole plan. We're people that don't have phones but still have internet and also have $400 to spare to buy our Bluetooth headphones and the fucking console. Like
it doesn't help because it is a full regression because. You could do remote play on PSP. You could do remote play on PlayStation Vita. So to say, hey, let's make a remote play device that is not even a system remotely at all anywhere. It's just a screen and a controller.
Like it doesn't even look good.
No,
aesthetically, it's not even. I swear, did some intern stupid. Just like throw it up and
like, literally just looks like they glued a PS5 controller in half. Like it's so fucking wild. Okay,
moving on from that.
Yes, we'll go from there. So now we're gonna talk about your boy's game console, the Xbox, and how are they doing? And I can say with wholeheartedly, bad. they are not doing well. As much as I really want Xbox to do well, because I feel like they are easily probably the most consumer friendly gaming console company currently, like right now, like not as of late. Beforehand, when they literally started the charging people for internet network that they already owned, or charging people for DLCs like Horse Armor, you know, like whatever. Fuck you, Xbox. It was Oblivion actually. Oblivion. Horse Armor DLC was like one of the first.
Yeah, like, was it Oblivion?
It was Oblivion. It was Oblivion. It was like
a launch game.
It was like 06 or 05 or something like that. It was back then.
05.
There we go. Yeah.
Yes.
A long time ago.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
But like Xbox is definitely doing the most consumer friendly things. The Game Pass thing.
Yes.
The fact that it's all like PC and Xbox. They don't care. Like whatever. Is super cool. The Game Pass price is cool. They killed gold, but like nobody used gold anymore anyway. So like
it was time.
Whatever, fine. But like they just have not really like caught up. Like they're trying so hard to catch up to Sony because Sony's got like fucking leagues ahead of them with all the exclusives. And Xbox is like, we have some exclusives, and then they're like, what are they? Like stop looking at them though. Like Redfall comes out like. Horrible. Absolutely garbage game.
Listen, I'll cut them some slack. Redfall was in development by Bethesda. It hadn't been announced before the acquisition by Microsoft. So essentially, Microsoft inherited this dumpster fire that was Redfall. They said, you know what, it costs us more money to cancel the shit than release it. So
There's
fine.
no
Just
way
bump
that
it.
Bethesda was like Microsoft had to have had some kind of like input into it to make it into like what it was,
Games
because
take
I
a while
feel
to
like it
develop.
was originally gonna be a live service.
Yeah, no, it is. It was.
And
That's-
then like I
but
feel like
that's what's
Microsoft
pushed
came in
live
and was like,
service.
nah, don't do that.
Yeah.
But still come out with it at the same time that you
Correct.
were originally gonna come out with it.
Yeah, because again, it was some fallacy problem. It's
Yeah.
like to not release it, the contracts you have to cancel. Like, nah, fuck it, just let it go out in the wild and die.
Yeah.
Because you know what, at least it died out in the wild and make some money.
It was like releasing like a cat into like a bear den at a zoo or something. It was just so unbelievably stupid.
I think a cat would do better.
Yeah, probably. And then Starfield comes out, and like I can't say that Starfield was anywhere close to how horribly bad Redfall was, but like it's still just it wasn't
It's not
what
the win
it should
Xbox
have
needed.
been. Yeah, it was not the
Well,
win
no,
that Xbox.
it's not the win that Xbox wanted,
No,
but it's the
definitely
win
not.
that they needed.
Yeah, I mean,
No, they did need it because
they need
listen,
something.
7 million,
It needs to be
7 million
bigger.
copies.
Yeah.
Like Bethesda's,
Yeah, I mean,
Bethesda
number-wise.
Bethesda portion's like, oh yay, money. Like
Yeah.
the highest selling game they ever released. Like,
Easily, yeah.
Like Starfield is
Their best selling game of all
boom.
time. And I
But
can't wait
Microsoft
for
is kind of like,
I can't wait for them to re-release it like 6 more times with like minimal like,
they'll probably release it for the freaking like Q.
yeah. There we go. But oh man, it was just not super great. But they did have that big leak just recently where it showed like a lot of stuff coming from the Activision
The
inquiry, and like
yeah.
during the discovery there was a whole bunch of stuff that got leaked, and like a lot of it was like some of the big ones was Dishonored 3 is now confirmed, which is super cool because Doom Year 1, and then there's a Oblivion and a Fallout 3 remaster, which I think is really, really cool. I mean, because I freaking loved Oblivion. I thought that was probably one of my favorite Bethesda games, honestly, besides maybe Skyrim. But like Oblivion was just like, it was fun, but also it was fun because of the jank.
Yeah,
the jank was hilarious.
So without jank, will it still be fun?
I don't know, but I mean, like, there's no way that they're gonna like, unless they put it on a completely new engine, which they're not. It's still gonna be jank, which is fine because some of the jank is hilarious. Like even Starfield has some of that like good old Bethesda jank. The only problem is you don't see it as often because you're in the menu so much.
Yeah.
Like just fast traveling.
Hey. Nothing screams next gen game like sitting in the menu.
Yeah,
for most of it.
And then they also leaked the Slim, the Xbox Slim, which is I don't like it because it's just digital and it's yeah I don't want that.
They want to kill off GameStop once and for all.
I want physical games.
And that's actually why I was saying Xbox is consumer friendly now
currently
because. Everything is to get you all in Game Pass, and once you're in Game Pass, it's just like, oh, Series X, same adorable price, but now smaller.
It's got 2 terabytes.
2 terabytes.
Ooh.
You still have to use a proprietary memory card if you want more. Like you're
new
being,
controller.
We're essentially all being ushered in like sheep. I guess I should have said shepherd or something, but
shepherded in
like into the meat house. And like, we just make us into like haggis or something, and we're doomed.
Yeah, it's.
Oh no, we're cornering the market. Oh no, look at us making predatory practices.
I mean, but
no.
Xbox has been trying to kill GameStop for so goddamn long. So like,
didn't they just make a deal with them recently too, like some kind of like partnership?
Not that I know of.
There's some kind of partnership they made with GameStop, something to do with.
Well, I think they were doing that NFT thing where they were like all the companies were okay with like GameStop having like some kind of like NFT marketplace on their website, but that kind of died.
You know what? Okay, that would be. I'm gonna get the most hate for this. That would be probably the only sensible use of NFT. Like, hi, I as Microsoft owns NFT on these games that are now being sold. the back markets can still make some profit off of them.
Yeah,
because the NFT component of it.
It's kind of
So
like
then,
the trading cards from Steam, essentially.
Okay, now I see how Microsoft or Sony and Nintendo can get behind that. They still get a cut, even though it's sold at massively discounted prices.
Yeah.
Because that's actually the problem. Once it gets into GameStop, they see none of that.
Yeah.
So
I don't get any money for my used game. That's lame. It makes me sad.
It should. I mean, if we ignore the greedy publisher angle for a second, again, 150 developers worked on that game for 4 years. Hell, they crunched the last 6 months. They couldn't go on vacation. They couldn't see their families. Like, they should get some compensation for that. And like, I do believe in them being compensated for their effort, for their work, fairly. And that includes every time it's sold, not just the first time. The fact that it's only just the first time is like, that kind of sucks. Because once it gets out to that aftermarket, and that aftermarket gets enough copies, no one's buying new. Like, when was the last time you bought a new game at new price?
All the time? What do you mean? Don't
I
ask
guess,
me that.
I guess we're not the best.
I'm a big stupid.
We actually do buy games brand new.
Yeah, I bought Baldur's Gate twice. I bought it on PS5 and on my PC, so I could play with my girlfriend and by myself.
Well, like part of the reason why game preservation doesn't happen is that what's the incentive? There's no financial incentive to keep the games preserved, because
why can't we just remaster it?
The complication that, and you have all the copyright shit. Part of the reason you remaster it is you can't get the rights back.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, like we want to talk about weirdo rights, limbo. We want to talk about that 2013 Deadpool game that you can't get anymore because they don't own the rights in it, and so it's unavailable. You'll never be able to find it. So the only way you can get it is by finding a physical disc of it, and the company that originally made that will no longer see any of that money. But I mean. And I thought that game was pretty decent.
Pretty decent is a little strong. It was mediocre.
It was fine.
Even for its time.
Yeah, it was fine. Yo, the Wolverine game though.
Yes.
That game fucking slapped, bro. That game was the Wolverine Origins tie-in movie game that was
Is that the one where you threw yourself out of a plane?
Yeah, at the very beginning, and you
your flesh would come off.
Yeah,
it was like the Force Unleashed, but for Wolverine.
It was so awesome.
That game was awesome.
That was so cool. It was completely unrelated to the movie because the movie was god awful garbage. But that game was so good, and you cannot get it.
The game was better than the movie.
Yeah, a million times better.
Again, 7th gen console, probably gonna go down as the best generation of gaming.
Honestly, even looking at all aspects of it, for consoles, mobile, portable, all of it there was just so much fun and wonder behind everything. Everyone was trying so hard. Yeah, we don't see a lot of that in the majority anymore,
unfortunately. All right, I think the
Thank
Xbox.
You, Xbox.
Yes, thank God for the Xbox. And now let's get on to your buddy, where you got so much news. The Nintendo. Yeah, pretty much.
What do you think's gonna happen with the Switch?
What's going on with Nintendo?
Okay, well, what's going on? They are laughing all the way to the bank, for everything that they got going on.
Yeah,
it's pretty clear that they compete with themselves at this point. They don't have to. There's a difference between fidelity and performance, and then versus just trying to get a good gaming experience. As long as it runs, Nintendo's philosophy is that it runs good enough, and then it looks fine. People don't really care that much about the fidelity. If you want high fidelity, you'll go PlayStation, Xbox, or PC. I mean, that's why I'm mainly.
You really would go PC.
That's why I'm a PC.
You want performance and fidelity PC.
It's exactly why I'm mainly a PC gamer, and then I have the Switch for basically everything else that I can't really get on PC unless I emulate or something like that. So, but because I do like to just have that official experience, I'll just use the Switch. And then PC because the performance out of it. Sony and Xbox just being these two dogs fighting over this rope, and it's
Nintendo's just off, I don't know, playing with a tree or something.
They're the cat in the window doing this with its tail, just just laughing at both of them because Nintendo's doing fine. I mean, they got all the money in the world to do whatever they want because they can compete against themselves. It just kind of all directions come down to probably one of the greatest redemption stories in gaming because the Wii U was a certifiable failure in every regard.
Colossal failure.
It wasn't a bad console. It was just the marketing for it was just the most dolcious experience. For what it was doing, it wasn't awful. It was just the Wii was better. No, it wasn't the PS3. I think the concept what they had going on for the Wii was pushing the boundary farther than what the Wii U did, and the Switch is definitely the biggest thing they made. But yeah, Wii U was awful. There was a couple good games on there which they just made for Switch anyways. But yeah, I mean, all the news comes down to what's going on with this next console, which all eyes, even Sony and Microsoft, are kind of like
What are you
getting.
doing?
They're kind of like zooming in, like what's going on here? Like I'm pretty sure the Nintendo ninjas are holding off the Microsoft and Sony counterintelligence ninjas, like going in to see what's
Well,
going on in the industry.
you know why it's a little easier, because Nintendo's SoC is in development at an entirely different plant.
Correct. Well, because
You
AMD
see, AMD,
AMD is
has
PlayStation
here's
and
Microsoft,
Microsoft.
here's Sony, and they're like across from each other. Meanwhile, Nintendo is just
Up beside
Nvidia.
it, exactly, Nvidia for their SoC systems, which the firmware and develop. Honestly, it's a pretty smart plan for how that's working out. It's just, I guess, yeah, it's just a lot of mystery of what really happens. A lot of Nintendo really feels like what is next, like what's going on, because again, we were just talking about like how Wonder kind of feels like the swan song for what's going on,
Mhm.
for just kind of saying goodbye to the Switch, and here's the next thing. And you know what's funny? It's not more than anything what fascinates me, because we can talk about hardware specs at the end of the day. I'm fairly. This is. I think this is fair. They have to find a way to make. So rest his soul. And while Iwata was a great man and he put Nintendo on the right track, like his philosophy was pretty, I think, dated by today's standards. Of him saying like it really isn't about performance; it's just about the gameplay. And while I do agree with that, there's a point where you gotta start giving a little bit more performance, because the Switch was already outdated when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And for the price that, yeah, relatively cheap compared, it was smart, relatively cheap entry point versus the Xbox and PlayStation around the time for $400, $500, and then the Switch here's $300 entry point for a lot of great family friendly oriented titles. Which one of my biggest problems was Nintendo's biggest thing before that was the movement mechanics and like the Wii, how you can move around, and the Switch didn't really have that at first. They had the 1-2 switch, but like that was
Poopy.
sorely, yeah, a lot of like the movement stuff, like Switch Sports, Wii Sports, all that stuff was sorely lacking, and honestly that's probably my biggest problem with the Switch. But other than that, a pretty good
Ring
come
Fit?
out swinging. Ring Fit, honestly, it was a pretty,
Ring Fit slaps.
it was a pretty,
It's
honestly,
fun.
Ring Fit Adventure is actually pretty. Honestly, kind of see what they'll do for a sequel, as long as they can reuse the same hardware.
Yeah.
But
Probably.
Ring Fit is pretty dope. Listen,
You think it's gonna be more than the Switch Pro? Then
listen,
you think it's a real
it cannot be a Pro. We're past the point of a Pro. It's we need a brand new iteration of a console. This could be an endless debate, but I think this is kind of the holy grail of what is the end vision and the line between console entertainment and handheld entertainment. Like, what is that line drawn? Where does it become sensible to where the handheld makes sense and where it doesn't have to compete against the console market? Like, if Nintendo can find a way to keep the price still relatively low, under $400 or so, maybe it's
So
500 is pushing it, I think, for a hybrid console still. If they can keep it 400 or under, but if they can figure out a way to get 720p gaming at 60 frames on a battery operated system, but it can also run all manner of third party games. Like, what's the most technically advanced game on the market right now?
The release right now, Cyberpunk 2077, hands down.
Yeah.
Fully updated.
100%. Yeah. That with all the DLSS.
Open world.
Like Cyberpunk is like probably one of the biggest technological advances in video game history.
Purely for graphical performance.
Graphical fidelity and all
I'm
that kind of
talking
stuff.
overall, it's technology.
Yeah, Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk is like it's created like some of the best
by
ways
far
to
it is.
create
I think
dynamic lighting and stuff
actually,
like that.
I think what you're saying, Star Citizen.
I mean,
technologically, Star Citizen.
Yeah, I was trying to.
Doesn't that game have like 4K
It's not
bed
even
sheets?
realistic.
8K bed sheets.
It doesn't
Right.
even
That's
exist.
Star Citizen isn't even a game.
But
It's
you know
like
what? PS5 Pro could play Star Citizen.
What I was getting to, like, probably one of the most fundamentally complex games right now, because graphically, without a doubt, Cyberpunk there's just bar none. But honestly, I gotta say what you want about the game, but like, games like, from a fundamental technology standpoint, Battlefield 2042 is pretty. That's like a marvel for how that game runs. Like, it is not the greatest experience ever, but the fact that like in real time, those like 128 players in one
It's
given
pretty
situation.
easy. You just take the Xbox One version of Battlefield 2042, make it for the Switch 2,
That's what I'm.
and they'll have 64 players.
Yo, just
and they'll play
fucking
just fine.
just do BattleBit on the Switch. It's fine.
But-
That
honestly-
game runs a million times better than Battlefield, and the destruction is much more
Right.
like Levolution kind of thing.
You ain't lying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, it honestly makes sense.
And listen, if some of the rumors are true, like if you have DLSS, like I think, listen, if the new Switch has DLSS, you slap that bad boy in the dock. It gets the additional graphical power.
1080p,
Instead of
high def,
rendering,
1440
no,
if you can.
it could probably
You could
push
probably
up
get
to
to 4K with 30 frames on
Yeah.
certain instances.
like
which is-
1440p for like.
I mean, the
even
Rogue Ally
2K
can get there,
1440p
and that's like
Wow.
700. So
yeah.
So again, yeah, trying to keep the price under, which is, and then also it's
I feel like
size comparison.
I feel like the thing that is going to be the hardest for them is going to be the battery life.
The battery is
The battery
always
life is going to be the biggest thing.
battery life is the enemy of all handhelds. I
Yeah.
mean, Apple and Android have been, and Google have been going at it for. I mean, they're the closest ones to really make it work. I mean, what are the size of our devices? And these are still more infinitely powerful than what the Switch has now in terms of just raw horsepower and graphical fidelity. But
Mhm.
if they can, the point I was trying to get is just if they can get really large third party titles such as the Call of Duties, the Battlefields, the suffice to say, the sports games
Mortal
that are
Kombat,
rip-off.
Yeah.
That is a whole other topic. Mortal Kombat 1 on Switch is a rip-off. I think you know, that
full
is
scam.
that is inexcusable.
Yeah.
That is like
$70.
And they charge more for it.
Mm-hmm.
Mortal Kombat 1. Actually, the whole game as a whole is actually in pretty deep water right now. The game is not what it should be, but the Switch version specifically, how Nintendo even allowed that, I don't even. That game needs to be delisted.
You know,
Yeah.
X
It's
Defiant
bad.
went back. X Defiant failed certification. Cyberpunk 2077 on PlayStation lost certification.
You
Nintendo
really gotta
looked at
mess
Mortal
up.
Kombat 1 and said,
Yeah.
"This is fine."
It's fine. $70? Oh yeah. Yeah, worth.
You know, you really got to mess up when the owner of the console delists your game.
Oh, yeah,
like,
that's crazy.
CD Projekt was in a lot of trouble, and
Yeah.
rightly so, because they lied. They blatantly lied to us, saying
Mhm.
that game could.
It'll run on PS4.
It will.
Yeah.
It will. You will get to the menu. It will render like 3 frames. You'll equip the weapon and the game crashes. Like I played on PC on release, and honestly, I was one of the few who had a relatively decent experience because I do have pretty stable hardware. But even then, it's not my favorite game ever. It is the writing is. I really like the story. The story is
Yeah.
nice. Everything else is the gameplay. It's one of those games that's more movie than game. Honestly, I don't like that floaty feeling gameplay. The gunplay is not satisfying with that game.
When do you think that the Switch 2 is going to come out? Because there was I saw an article that they were talking about how they have patented Red Dead Redemption 2 on the Switch, and it's supposed to be coming out I think at the beginning of next year, and there's no way that's going to run on the Switch currently.
No,
There's no way.
there's
Like
no
it's
way.
that like if they learned anything from Mortal Kombat, it's that like there's no way that they're gonna get a game that looks that good to run on the Switch at all.
Unless they did
Ever.
a full demake and actually made it run on the Red Dead Redemption 1 engine.
Maybe, but
Well,
like
I
I don't
doubt
think
that.
I don't
Oh,
think
much
they're
more.
doing.
Kind of like what the Witcher
So-
did, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, The Witcher
The Witcher
runs
runs
perfectly
on the
great
Switch, yeah.
because they
Well, perfect
they
is
optimized
strong
it.
words,
Okay,
but-
it runs.
The game,
It runs, yes,
the game
it
is
runs.
playable.
Yeah.
I mean, going from PC to that is a drastic change. But like the cross save is pretty cool between the two. But that's besides the point.
Do you have any ideas on like when do you think? Have you seen any other stuff besides what I was talking about?
No, I mean, there's rumors amok. I mean, I'd imagine. So it's not happening this year because we would have heard something about it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
There's. I'm gonna say not this next Nintendo Direct, but maybe the next couple after that. So I really feel like sometime next year we're gonna hear something.
Yeah.
Like sometime that we're gonna hear like official something. Either be, you know what fascinates me more than just the hardware itself, because they got to get the hardware right this time. They can't keep doing this underpowered nonsense. I really just want to know what it's gonna be called. Like what's more
Super Switch.
fascinating.
Switch you.
No, it's gonna be.
They can't. If they do that, that's how they'll lose.
It'll immediately die.
Immediately die. So like, I'm just like in my head, what name rolls off the tongue that makes sense? Like Switch 2? Super Switch?
It's gotta be the Super Switch.
I guess Super Switch.
Switch 64.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine who actually said like they would name it what its development name was originally. The Next is what it was called when it was under development.
Oh yeah.
People were saying they would call it the Nintendo Next, and they would basically keep because the whole point is marketing is key, right? So you want to keep the whole when Nintendo shows up, the little click thing shows up. Mm-hmm. So like, make it that, but it's like a remix, like click version or something, and they call it Next
like
or
you have
something.
the console on the slant, and then it forms an X.
Yeah, like.
We're not doing
I could hear Musk heavy breathing. Copyright. Like I'm gonna say next year. We'll see.
You think next year? Because
when it will come out, or what? I think we'll definitely hear about it next year. Yeah. I don't know if it'll come out next year, but at the end of the day, since we're running out of, maybe it'll come out the middle or around holiday season next year. Because again, it's based off where these first party games are coming from. Mm-hmm. Where after Wonder. What is next? There's nothing.
Probably Thousand Year Door.
We got Detective Pikachu. What was it? The WarioWare Move It, which I feel like both of those could probably still run on the regular Switch. Yeah, but then there's also next year's like the Thousand Year Door, the Mario remake, Princess Peach Showtime, Luigi Mansion 2 remake,
Luigi Mansion 2.
And Metroid Prime is still completely MIA. Yeah, it's a remake.
So if I had to guess, they probably are going to make an announcement for the system near Luigi Mansion's 2 release, which will be sometime in the summer, as that's showing.
Of next year?
Yeah, of next year.
Oh,
and if anything, they'll probably release in the holiday.
That's like 6
months.
The
Wii U came out in the holiday season.
Yeah.
The Switch came out. The Switch came out in
2012.
Yeah,
no, the Switch came out in like the summer.
Wasn't it summer? Wasn't it summer?
17.
Yeah, it was summer. That's when Zelda came out. When Zelda came out, because it was the last game for the Wii U, and then first game for. It's weird, man. It's just you can't sell a new console. I mean, it'll sell by itself just because everyone's excited, but like you still can't sell a console with just. Right now, it's Wonder and then a bunch of remakes and then a bunch of spin-offs of those main games. Because like Princess Peach is fantastic, but that's still technically a spin-off game. You're not gonna sell a console for that, so there definitely has to be.
It's gotta be Metroid Prime 4, right?
It has to be Metroid, bro. And that is so exciting because now for the first time, officially, every system has its big IPs, the ones that define it. And I've always, like the big three of DC: Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. Like Nintendo also has that, where its big three have always been Link, Mario, and Samus. But Samus has always felt,
Like I would say like.
There's Pokemon. Pokemon doesn't count. Yeah. Pokemon is its own.
No, but see, as I say, I feel like Pokemon would fits the third slot better than
currently. But that's also because like
there was no Metroid for N64.
Yeah.
And while GameCube and Wii technically had the Metroid games, like Switch didn't have a Metroid game; it just had remakes of Metroid games.
Correct.
But Pokemon... it had Dread. Dread is a new one.
Sorry, you're right. Yeah, and Dread was fantastic.
Dread was great. Yeah, Dread was really good.
About Dread for a minute. Dread was great.
It was definitely like a callback to like their older things. It wasn't really like a new.
It wasn't pushing boundaries, but it's a great game. It's the villain in that. It's so dope. But other than that, it's just a matter of we need. Metroid has yet to ever truly have its time in the spotlight. What better way than to that's also, you bring up a good point. That's part of my problem. I'm still really hesitant about them releasing 4 without them releasing the full trilogy remastered, because that feels a little weird, because they're basically saying here's 1, then here's 4.
Well, they released the trilogy remaster on we just talked about this.
Yeah,
it was on
the
Wii U, right? Yeah,
that was a Wii U. So they haven't put all.
They haven't brought all the remasters to the current market.
Yeah, they did a remaster on.
They did one.
Yeah, they remake. Oh yeah, it's a remake. It was really.
It's a hybrid because it is the original core engine, but new graphic engine.
Yeah, so it's technically a remaster. There's a whole debate between remakes and remasters, but remake is like Final Fantasy VII, Resident Evil 4. Those are remakes. Remaster is like the Assassin's Creeds and the what's another remaster? I don't even know.
Okay.
Grand Theft Auto.
I would kind of argue
that barely counts.
if you only if the only thing that you change in the game is the graphics, it's still going to get remastered in my book.
Yeah, that's a remaster. I'm talking.
I probably would say something like Shadow of Colossus on PS4 technically errs on the side of a remake because they did change that engine to make it a little more
but it plays almost identical.
Almost identical, but it is changed at the engine level. There are changes there. Like remember people complain about controlling aggro? You don't have those complaints in PS4.
Yeah, I mean, so
the quirks of PS2 are gone.
Maybe it's a remake.
So that's why I wouldn't say like it's not a remake in the sense that we built it from the ground up with a new engine, but it is.
Didn't they?
It's deeper than a remaster because a remaster would just be a re-release of it.
Because it's in the same vein as the Demon Souls remake.
Yeah,
Demon Souls is like a fundamental remake, but it is the most faithful remake like possible. Like the game is like almost one for one. It's actually a little bit harder.
But you know why? That's also a remake?
Because Blue Point are geniuses.
Well, no, Blue Point didn't. It's not the original engine still.
No, it's the proprietary. Whatever, I forget what engine they use on it, but
the same for the Eco.
Was it the same one?
Not Eco, but the same for Shadow of Colossus. That's why those are remakes.
It's some proprietary engine. I don't remember what they're.
You're not taking an old car and just fixing up the outside, the facade. No, you're building a whole new car to be the old car. So it's not authentic. That's like basically for me a remake is inauthentic to the original. The original is what's being remastered.
So then in that so Demon Souls is a remake then.
Yes,
because it's fundamentally different, but that game was fantastic. When is it coming to PC? So what do you mean?
When Bloodborne gets a sequel?
Never.
Or 60 FPS patch?
The instant that Half-Life 3 comes out.
What are we going to see?
Half-Life 3 will probably come out before Bloodborne 2.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know, man. I feel like Bloodborne on PC and Bloodborne 2 are literally like Sony's like, we're losing, quick, ship it out.
Oh, that's their Final Fantasy 7?
I swear, I think so. Sony's sitting on it because they're just like, this is like the one thing that we have that we haven't like. We have so much other stuff we're working on. Let's just leave this in the back burner. So whenever we start actually messing up, we can just be like, hey, PC gamers, you want this? I'm like, oh wait, well, sure, yeah, there you go. Like they want to sell hardware or they want to get PC gamers to blow up out of their seats. Bloodborne on PC or Bloodborne 2, that feels like that's like the backseat because everything else they've done. Wasn't there like a rumor they were going to bring back Resistance? Which I would be totally on board.
Yeah, there was a rumor that they said that, and like nothing came of it. I think they did like a tech demo thing where they showed like some of the gameplay, but it was like a pre-rendered cutscene and it wasn't actual gameplay.
The only reason I probably would want to see Resistance is if they
brought
the whole thing back.
Yeah, restart.
That means a multiplayer too, because Last of Us Part 1. Like, listen, my faction's disappointment would be dampened if they did Factions remake as well.
Yeah.
So if I could go to Part 1 and just click on Factions and just play a match of Last of Us Factions with the new graphics and it's all touched up.
No, $70 for less game.
No, here's just a single player with the DLC. I'm like, I love this story. But you should know that. You literally see all my time play the game. Give me multiplayer. Please.
Sony is just out of there.
How do you have SOCOM and then fall so far from
I think I bought the last. What was the last SOCOM?
Fun fact. PS3.
Fun fact. What was who's the company that made ZeniMax?
Mm-hmm.
ZeniMax.
ZeniMax.
The last game that they made before they went out of business was actually a Vita game. It was Unit 13. I actually own that game. It was a lot of fun. It was basically SOCOM, but like special operations. Like it was like Spec Ops stuff, like Black Ops stuff, but more realistic. More like counterterrorism stuff. A really cool proof of concept on the Vita. Then they went out of business, and then the SOCOM IP is now owned by Sony.
Yeah,
I think Sony owns it. They just don't do anything with it because
I think the original developer was Zipper Interactive.
I think PS2 era, right? Is it?
No, the last one Zipper made, I think, was SOCOM 4.
That was the PS3.
Yeah,
that was the one that had
it's been gone for a while.
Yeah, the PlayStation Move thing, with the stupid gun, yeah.
That was pretty good. I remember you had the melee, you had to like stab the screen with the gun.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. That was dope.
All right. Well, I think it was pretty good. We did like 2 hours and 5 minutes. So, yay! Thank you for watching, all 2 people or whatever. But hey, Be here next week, probably at around the same time, depending on
same time.
Yeah, something like that.
3, 4.
3 or 4, and then we're gonna talk about more game stuff and more news and all that kind of stuff. So if you enjoyed, make sure to send this to all your
comment,
friends.
subscribe.
Yes.
The MC Gingerbread.
Yeah, and we'll probably get our own channel at some point once we get farther in. But right now, we're just gonna host it on mine until we get more views. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Good night. Hold on. Nope, that's not what I wanted. That's definitely not what I wanted. Okay, hold on. Oh shit.
We got upgraded.
Yeah, okay, what?
No, I clicked on the wrong thing, so now it's